the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 6 of the 2020 Karts to Computers Racing Series Season 2. We come to you live tonight from the virtual Michigan International Speedway, the second time we've ever come here in the series. The first time, of course, being the final race of last season, the one in which Logan Pacza was crowned our Season 1 champion. But this year we come here kind of early to mid-season for round 6, just before almost the halfway point when we hit our All-Star break in just a couple of weeks. But for the time being, we come to our first oval race since round 3 of the season, that of course being our Dallara race at Charlotte for the IndyCars. That one was won by Logan Pacza. He took his very first oval race win of the season. And of the series overall, actually, that had been his first official. Important to note, he had won some practice races, but that was a great race for sure. I mean, you guys will remember the great finish that one caused. But since then, we've had 2 more races, both of which being Skip Barber races, meaning we went back to the road courses rather than the ovals. The first one of which being at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, which a little bit of a chaotic race overall, but I think it had a very exciting finish. And speaking of exciting finishes, 2 days ago on Friday, we were at Nurburgring Nordschleife for a very, very different broadcast. I know that everybody that watched that one will probably know it was a little bit untraditional compared to the usual format for those, but tonight I think is a little bit back more to the usual that we go with here for our broadcast. So, well, we have 2 race recaps to go through. I know I said I would post the first one for Canadian Tire on the Facebook page, but I decided, what, if I start this broadcast nice and early and make sure I give myself plenty of time, why not try to do both before the race goes live? So we're going to try it. It's going to be a pretty jam-packed pre-race show, but hopefully it pays off well. So, well, we are now going to go to our 2 race recaps. The first one, of course, being for Nurburgring Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for round 4, and Nurburgring Nordschleife for round 5. And for round 4, as I mentioned, we were at the lovely Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, aka Mosport for some of our Ontario viewers here. Logan Pacza took the pole for, I believe, the 3rd or 4th time this season, 3rd at that point. And then he was, of course, on pole for our Nürburgring race. You see here getting started, I believe he had a 13-car field, actually a pretty good attendance for a road course racing in this series. Very first corner, though, Marco Felice, unfortunately, I think he got side-by-side there with, I believe that's either Rich Foligno or Jordan West. Yeah, that is the Red Bull car of Rich Foligno. Rich has had a great year, but unfortunately just kind of bad luck, wrong place there with Marco Felice to start off the race. Now we see Jordan West and Devin Crosby going side-by-side through the very tricky hairpin. This gave people trouble all day, and when you see Devin and Jordan just getting up side-by-side, those tires can have a ton of bounce if you make side-by-side contact in one of these open-wheel cars. Now you see Michael Chrobok going for a pass for the lead on Logan Pacza. Very early in the race. Logan led the first, I think, maybe 12 or 15 laps of this race, somewhere in that area. Now I believe this is Marco Felice just pile driving. I believe that's Jordan West. Not exactly sure what happened there. I think he just kind of got a tire on the grass there and sent the back end around. It didn't look intentional or anything. Just looked a little bit of a high-speed incident for that specific corner. Now, speaking of high-speed incidents, Jordan West makes massive contact with that outside barrier very, very early in the race on a restart, actually. Now you see Logan Ferguson with one of the craziest crashes I've ever seen. Logan just loses, I believe, his front left tire, clipping, I believe that was Logan Ferguson there in the gray car. But later in the race, at about lap 39 to 50, Rich Foligno is your leader at the time. See, Rich gets a little bit wide, and Michael tries to make the pass there. You see the kind of racing we had all day, it was pretty close at this point. Several drivers were taking the lead and throughout the race, and at least in that specific stint. Now on board with my father, Marshall Crocker Sr., and you see a crash there between, I believe that is, I can honestly not remember. It's Rich Foligno and was that Logan Ferguson? Trying to remember what driver that was. Now we see our second to last restart of the race. Logan Pacza gets a great jump on the drivers behind him. Devin Crosby, who's actually the driver behind him, had a few cars in between his way in the lap car department. You can see there on the track map he had a few cars separating the two, but Logan started to take off late in this race, and we thought it might be a foregone conclusion, but now you're going to see Devin Crosby slide off the track there. That corner was giving people tough times all day. The dirt build up there on the outside was giving people tons of trouble, so unfortunately Devin got caught off there, and just a little bit later, Devin's luck got even worse here in this race. He just did not have a very fortunate night for sure. Makes huge contact with his, sort of teammate, kind of affiliate teammate there, Michael Chrobok. which went to our last our first green white checkered of the series, our last checkered caution flag of the race, I should say. Led to some pretty good racing here. You see Justin Lewick was doing everything he could to make the pass on Pacza. Lewick had a great comeback throughout the race as well. See, that time he wasn't quite able to make it work, but he went from 11th to 2nd and almost 2nd to 1st. Tries to pull the over-under here on Logan Pacza in the second to last corner. Doesn't quite be able to make it work. Andrew Bedrosian almost crashes into them behind it. Makes a beautiful save to help preserve his third place spot. But, well, Logan would start to pull away from that point. And with only 2 corners to go, he'd hit his marks and he would come across the line with his, at the time, 3rd win of the season. Impressive job there from Logan Pacza. He'd come away with, again, his 3rd race win in a row, actually, at that point in round 4. You see here Logan known for his famous celebrations, and he tries to send it off the track into the abyss, but, well, invisible walls are actually a thing here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, which isn't often the case. There you go. You see your final 3 are Logan Pacza, Justin Lewick, and Andrew Bedrosian for that particular race. The 2 MJ Motorsports teammates of Justin Lewick and Max Preston actually finished 2nd and 4th, so props to them. Great race for everybody involved. But just the very next week, now we're going to go right into Nurburgring Nordschleife's race for round 5 on Friday. Of course, we didn't really have an intro show, so there's not really a kind of middle slide that I can put up there, but you see a chaotic beginning of the race. We made it on the first corner clean, but Rich Foligno, I think he's been involved in a lot of incidents in the last few races. Again, not really because of his own, but Devin Crosby, this massive flip. I mentioned the bounciness of 2 open-wheel cars making contact with each other, and that time it was off of Marshall Crocker Sr. Again, neither driver really looked at fault there, just wrong place, wrong time for the guys involved. Now you see Michael Chrobok going on a bit of an off-road journey here. Kind of missed one of the apex, and I guess decided he just served the on-track penalty that came as a result of cutting off the track. He was penalized for that, no doubt. But Logan Ferguson here, you see spinning up at the top of the hill. It was a tricky track here at Nurburgring. It really, as I talked a lot about in the broadcast, there's nothing like this track in terms of the difficulty all over. And you see Logan just a few laps later, I think as a result of the damage he sustained there, just made some massive contact there with the outside wall as a result of kind of bouncing across the gravel trap. Now you see later in the race, this is the 9th lap, almost at the very end. Michael and Logan pitting on very similar stints. Michael coming out right behind Logan in the pits and very, very close indeed. Now we see just a few laps later. This is the final lap, but just a kind of a compilation of Michael trying to catch up to Logan. Logan was starting to pull away, but Michael just kind of kicked it into another gear in these final few corners, getting ready for that long backstretch you see there on the track map. And this was the pass. This was the moment that arguably one of the most chaotic and maybe not maybe controversial, but it was certainly a chaotic finish here at Nurburgring Nordschleife. Michael, of course, looking for his first road course win. He had never won one in this series until now. Logan Pacza kind of being the road course master here. See Michael with a huge slipstream all the way down the straightaway, tries to send it up the inside. Both guys go for the same piece of real estate. Massive contact. Michael bounces off into that outside barrier, hits the kind of cushier red and white barrier there, and then John Guerra slides in afterwards, which causing him to hit Logan Pacza. The 2 drivers tried to gear up as quick as they could and get it through the final three corners. Michael would, of course, gear up quicker and would make it around the end of the track to claim his first road course win in our series and his first road course win in general in the history of the Karts Computers series. So great job for him. It was a stellar race to get his first road course victory. Of course, Nürburgring being as difficult as it is, chaotic finish for sure, and it just kind of became a battle of who could get it back into gear first. Of course, John Guerra kind of sliding in there on Logan Pacza certainly didn't help his ability to get back up to speed, but not exactly sure what that is peeking up on the screen. Oh, wow. Okay, I've never had this graphic work before. Okay, we're currently in our qualifying graphic here, ladies and gentlemen. I should mention, as we finish up our race recap there, for tonight's race, we do have a few new graphics to go over, including, very excitingly, I might even pull this down. This one is got a few things I need to show first, but we actually have one of those like live scrolling timers there for tonight's race. You know, if you ever watch a NASCAR broadcast, one of those like live tickers they put across the top that show you the live positioning of each driver. So I know we've been doing kind of an F1 style graphics overlay for about a season and a half now, but tonight I figure it was a NASCAR race. I had some time to prepare, so why not? Let's try to get a little bit fancy, and I believe we may indeed have done that. We don't currently have those positions up, but we can now debut the fancy new graphic we got here. Look at that bad boy. We got our qualifying graphic down there in the on the bottom, showing the live laps from the drivers there of Logan Pacza and Justin Lewick, apparently the only 2 they're going to show. But up top there, that will be throughout the entire race, your live ticker that shows you where drivers are on track relative to each other, and just kind of a little bit nicer presentation style, at least for a NASCAR race, I would say. So, still attempting to look for a way to get off the qualifying mode. There we go. A little bit awkward, but first we do need to, while we wait for qualifying to finish up here, We do need to put up the race infographic to give you a little bit of information about tonight's track, because we've talked a lot about the previous races, but now we got to focus on tonight's race at Michigan International Speedway. Michigan International Speedway, as you can see, is a 3.22 kilometer track, meaning it is roughly 2 miles. 2-mile oval, meaning that it is one of the bigger ones we run all season. Of course, we run at Talladega and Daytona, but Michigan is by no means a small oval, and it shouldn't be understated just how long some of these laps can be, certainly for a stock car race. But that being that it is a longer oval, there is somewhat of an element of drafting ability and the ability to slipstream with teammates here. But the difference between most slipstream races and this one being that whenever you go to like a Talladega or a Daytona, or to some extent in Indianapolis, you have enough banking to make it through the corners with a fair amount of ease, to the point where tires almost play no effect into the race whatsoever. I mean, you saw it at Talladega earlier in the season, where it was just heavy banking everywhere. It was basically you're just mashing the gas the entire way around, which meant that it was more a strategic race with those around you rather than it was trying to make good lap times. But here at Michigan, when the banking is virtually non-existent, it is like super, well, you can even see in that picture, that is nothing compared to Daytona or Talladega earlier in the season. So with those low bankings, it means you're going to go through tires very quickly. You're most certainly going to need to brake in some parts, or at least lift off the gas. So you can try to bump draft with those around you, and especially your teammates, but to a certain extent, you can only do that for so long before eventually you just kind of run out of the opportunity to do that, because your tires are just so old that you can't make the corner if you give your teammate a big push down the backstretch. So, I mean, we've been here before. Some of you are familiar with the track layout, and of course, we'll go over it here when we get ready to show you your race results grid for the end of qualifying, which is 2 minutes away right now. Currently, important to mention, Michael Chrobok is your current pole sitter, and the only two pole sitters we've had all season going in around 6 are currently Logan Pacza and Michael Chrobok. As of right now, they are currently top 2 on the chart. Actually, Andrew Bedrosian, I think, has been third almost every race as well, so he certainly has in the finishing department. Andrew's been one of the most consistent drivers out there, but yeah, just to finish up talking about tonight's race conditions, as you can see, virtually no wind, no chance of rain, of course, which I set manually because, well, rain races just aren't very realistic, and they aren't, well, they're realistic, but they aren't very fun, if we're honest. So, clear conditions, meaning we should have a pretty hot track tonight, but actually 40 degrees Celsius, which is insanely hot. So, got a bit of a warm one here at Michigan International Speedway. I guess it would be kind of accurate to right now. It's been pretty hot the last few weeks, but well, that's about all I can say about Michigan International Speedway as we get ready to put the drivers on track for tonight's race at, of course, Michigan International Speedway. Before we go to your qualifying results, just a few more things to go over. Your current point standings. This is the individual driver standings for this point in the season. Current points leader, just like he was last season, Logan Pacza with 148 points, a 24-point lead on anybody else. As you can see there on the right side, the green numbers over there, those are the bonus points, and Logan has been the master of racking those up, whether it be leading the most laps, being on pole, leading a lap at all. He has just seemed to be the master of getting the bonus points whenever and however he can. He's also pretty incident averse too. I think he's third fewest incidents in the entire series right now. Of course, Max Preston having less, but he's actually run, well, one less race. So incidents per race, he's the second best in the series. But the only guy who's less incident prone or less incident averse then is Michael Chrobok, who starts in currently on the pole tonight provisionally, and it looks like that's not going to change for tonight's race. But he is second in the points with 124. Andrew Bedrosian narrowly behind him with 117. Those two have been really close in these last few oval races, and at least Talladega they were very close competition. They were kind of best buddies in that race, so it'll be interesting to see if that dynamic applies here tonight. After that, Rich Foligno, Devin Crosby, Marshall Crocker, and Jordan West are your top 7, all of whom have showed up to every single race, so thus their points kind of reflect that. Jordan moved up 4 spots in the last race, all the way from 11th to 7th thanks to his points performance at Nurburgring. After that, Justin Lewick, who missed our last race, John Guerra, Manuel Guerra will round out your top 10. Justin, of course, having a drop race that should allow him to get back in the points, but the two Guerras have been getting better and better every race, and they did great at Talladega earlier in the year, so I want to see what they can do tonight at Michigan. After that, Max Preston also missed the last race, so he will drop 4 spots in the championship to 56 points, meaning that he will sit 11th. Behind him is Josh Gallagher, who's been great at ovals in this entire series, so got to think he could have a pretty good performance tonight. And after that is Logan Ferguson in 13th and Marco Felice in 14th. With that, we will go to your team standings, I think, in a little bit. For the time being, we do have to hurry to your race broadcast because your grid is all set up for qualifying. Oh, that is a little bit too high. Let's just scooch that guy down a little bit here. There we go. So your grid for tonight's race, as we're actually going to throw to your pole sitter here. The formation lap is just about to get going. You see the guys are on the gas getting set up here. So we will take out the, we'll set up the desktop. Oh, can't currently hear the race, which is, there we go. So Got the lovely driver audio set up a little bit here, so we are now all ready to go for tonight's race. But as you can see on the pole, Michael Chrobok in the number 3 car, his second time, or I think his third time this season at ovals. He's just the master of oval qualifying. After him, Logan Pacza on the outside of row 1 there in the Logan Motorsports number 1 car. Of course, that lovely Era 4 Spitfire car. After that is Andrew Bedrosian, who's been having an incredible season, has finished on the podium every single race. I believe the only driver to do so thus far. He sits third in the points for his as an award for his consistency there, so he will start in that lovely 22 car. One of the best liveries I've ever seen. You see the giant dog in the front hood, so definitely one of the best liveries I've seen for sure. After that, Rich Foligno in the Ford entry there. You see the lovely striped blue car there of Rich Foligno will start on the outside of row 4. The two LPM blue cars starting in the top 4 in tonight's race. After that, Devin Crosby, followed by Max Preston, will be row 3. After that, Josh Gallagher and Justin Lillick will make up row 4. No, that's not right. Justin Lillick and Marshall Crocker following behind him. Marshall and John will be on row 5, and Manuel Guerra will round out the field in the 11th position. Means we can now pull down our race grid, get up your lovely timing, your new NASCAR graphic. You just kind of scooch it a little bit because it doesn't sit properly on my screen for some reason. It's showing the time, but I will be sure to keep you guys updated on the laps as we go throughout tonight's race. Getting ready to go green here. The pace car taking the hard left off onto pit road. We're getting ready for your 6th round of the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2. Green flag. Michael is on the lad pedal, and here we go. He has a massive gap already off the start. One of the better starts I've seen on all of iRacing in an oval race. And now Andrew Bedrosian already with a great start as well, heading down to the inside of Logan Pacza. He'll make the move for second place already. Logan is already going backwards. The first time I think he's not come out of the top 2 in the first corner all season, but behind them as well, Devin Crosby was able to make the pass on Rich Foligno, so lots of movement throughout the field. But now they're going to go side by side as Bedrosian and Pacza. Pacza's going to head to the inside, see if he can make the move stick there on Andrew Bedrosian. One car looks like he'll head to the inside, and he should be able to make it stick on new tires. Rich Foligno was able to make the pass back on Devin Crosby, and now he's all the way up to that 4th position, now trying to make a move for 3rd. You see the blue striped car of Rich Foligno chasing down that orange 22 entry of Andrew Bedrosian. Behind them, Crosby, Gallagher, and Preston are your final in the top 7. After that, Marshall Crocker Sr., as well as John Guerra and Manuel Guerra. Justin Lillick has actually made the pass for 8th just now on Marshall Crocker, so the two JM Motorsports cars are sitting in 7th and 8th respectively. Now Preston makes the pass on Gallagher. I'm going to go to a little bit of a wide shot here, as it's always best to represent the driver positions that way. Now you see Rich Foligno to the inside of Logan Pacza. Bedrosian has already made his pass back. They've kind of started to wheel in their way up to Michael a little bit. They've started to catch up slowly for the time being, so looks like we've, as I mentioned earlier, got themselves in the lad pedal, and now they're making some headway through the field. Andrew is now kind of in a draft on Michael. He's making up some room there, and is that Max Preston going around the top side of Devin Crosby for the 5th position? They're almost going to come together. They avoid an incident for the time being, but yeah, again, Rich Foligno now moving up to the 4th position. Devin Crosby is now currently in a battle with Max Preston, but he's getting a huge push from his teammate Josh Gallagher. See there the 6th car of Gallagher there sitting just behind him, and that I believe it's a Mountain Dew entry specifically, so he is making that that teammate system work. But Max Preston is now starting to head through the field as well. He's sitting in 5th currently, moved all the way up there from I believe 8th on the start of this race. So he didn't have a stellar race at Talladega this year. Not that it was necessarily a bad one, just wasn't, I'd imagine, quite to the standard that he would have liked, at least not as good as he's been at road courses. So tonight he's kind of got something to prove, and he is in the draft on Rich Foligno, about to probably make a move for 4th if he can get that position to stick. Looking back a little bit, looks like everybody's kind of gotten into a single file line, but Andrew Bedrosian has made the pass up front on Michael Chrobok. So Andrew Bedrosian will now become your new race leader. Looking back a little bit, Max Preston still trying to make a move on Rich Foligno there. He's looking underneath, seeing if he can make anything work. For the time being, he can't. That was Justin Lillick, I think, in the background that was starting to slide up. Not sure if he had a little bit of an incident there or what, but I think he dropped back a position there and giving it back to Josh Gallagher. Marshall Crocker Sr. in that number 24 Tim Hortons car sitting right behind him. Max Preston now trying to make the move on Devin Crosby up top. He's going to go all the way to the high side. He's going to have to wool up a little bit. I think Devin's going to get the run in the middle of the corner. Now Josh Gallagher underneath him. Is Gallagher going to be able to take the position as well? That is the question. Gallagher looking to the high side. Preston's going to block up high. Nice move there by Preston, so he will maintain the position for the time being. Preston, I guess, connectivity thing is going to drop out for a minute. Justin Lillick trying to work his way back through the field. Somebody there in the back a little bit, I think, went around. Was it? No, Josh Gallagher just dropped off for a minute. So an all clean race thus far in tonight's race. Good work from everybody so far to keep it probably the cleanest I've seen at the start of an oval race all series. But throughout the field, everybody's kind of lining up and in a pretty linear formation here. So gotta wonder if this is just kind of a plan by everybody to try to stay conservative at the very beginning, make sure you're there at the end of the race to compete for the win. Getting a little bit annoyed that they don't actually have the laps is what is showing up in tonight's race rather than the time up there. But to keep you guys updated, it is currently lap. I don't know either. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to find a way to better represent that in a moment. But looking back further in the field, it is still Logan Pacza sitting there in the final third position. But behind them, Rich Foligno and Max Preston are going to go side by side. Foligno and Preston, I don't really think I've seen them battle all season throughout any major, or in any major way, I should say. Throughout any of the races, they haven't really seemed to get together, at least not at the ovals at Talladega earlier this season. So Josh Gallagher moving through the field. I think him and Preston were in a few battles there in our earlier race at Talladega, but when it comes to ovals, at least in the NASCAR series, we haven't been in one since, well, round one of the season. It's been weeks, so guys got to try to rework their way into the mindset that comes with stock car racing in the NASCAR series. Preston and Gallagher are doing that quite well, seeming to be able to coexist with two abreast through corner 3 and 4 that time. Made it work pretty well, and they will remain clean for the time being. Max Preston, of course, in that red, blue, and yellow number 8 car there on the low side, and Josh Gallagher in the number 6 car up there on the high side. Looking up to the lead, it looks like Michael Chrobok might have thought about a move over top of the 22 car of Andrew Bedrosian, but it looked like he thought better of it for the time being. Gallagher is going to look for a move again over top of Max Preston. Now I think he's going to make it happen. So Gallagher there on the top side, you see there in the number 6 car, he's in the draft, and Rich Foligno, a fellow affiliate team member, of course, both being Lad Pedal Motorsports drivers. Again, I promise I will show the team standings momentarily, but for the time being, those two guys are making it work. The fact that they may not be actual teammates, of course, blue and green are separate teams as far as their team standings go, but they're making their affiliation work. And speaking of affiliations, Gallagher's teammate, Mr. Devin Crosby, in the 5 car is going to look for the underside pass there on Max Preston coming into corner 1. Going to go side by side. I think Preston's got enough of a run that he should be able to close the door coming into corner 2, but you know, for the time being, they're still going to go somewhat side by side. Preston's still holding the position, but Crosby slides under that time. Andrew Bedrosian and Michael Chrobok are going to go side by side, or at least I thought they were. It appears Chrobok decides to slide back underneath, and he will get back in the draft for the time being. Again, I just want to point out, this is it's a great livery there from Andrew Bedrosian. You see the dogs there all over the car. Reminds me of that one Pedigree NASCAR car where it was dog food, and they sponsored it by putting a bunch of dogs all over the car. But a little bit further back in the field, Justin Luke is going to dive all the way to the bottom on his teammate, Max Preston. Of course, that team, they may not have matching cars tonight, but they, the 7 and the 8 are, of course, both teammates. JM Motorsports, they are currently called, as the last time they were out on track. Justin did score a better points finish, meaning that as the rule that I put in place goes, they now become JM Motorsports as their team name. So Justin will now try to track down Devin Crosby. Looking up a little bit further in the field, let's see where everybody sits at the moment. In just a moment, I'm going to bring back the Heather graphic style just so we can actually see the lap number for the time being, but this is kind of a cool setup. I just need to figure out how to get the laps to display rather than the time, as helpful as the time is. Somebody way in the back there having some issues. Who is that kind of swerving around up top? Max Preston is losing positions by the second. Not exactly sure what is wrong there. I don't believe he's blown a tire. He just kind of seemed to get swirly there, and he's corrected it now, but he's got some positions to make up if he wants to get back up to the front where he was just a moment ago. I think he's dropped actually 3 positions from that last battle, so moving up all the way to 4th, I believe, in a moment ago, and now he's down in 9th position, so he's got some work to do if he wants to move back up. But as we see the drivers coming into corner 3, that top 3 of Bedrosian, Chrobok, and Pacza is not splitting up whatsoever. As we head by the crowd, of course, the crowd at an actual NASCAR race not present in this day and age, but well, for the time being, that top 3 will stay formed. Hopefully we are able to see them in this wider camera angle, but it's a little bit hard to figure out how to show all 3 of those cars, because even though they are so close, I think that works a little bit better. That 22, the 3, and the 1. Of course, Bedrosian looking for his first race win this season, or his first race win in the series overall. Actually, his first race he ever did in our series was here at Michigan, so the first time he's ever come to a track that he's already done before, which you got to wonder if the experience will help him tonight and be what it takes to give him his first win of the series. Bedrosian's a guy I think he'd probably be one of my favorites to win the race tonight, just because he's put in the work in practice, and I know that he's feeling pretty confident coming in tonight. I know when it comes to NASCAR races, he's confident in his abilities, so we'll see if he's able to make that work. For the time being, we're going to pull down this lovely ticker graphic, and we're going to go back to the usual thing. Hopefully it does work without a hitch. Got to slide it down a little bit there. There we go. So we will now put the proper lap number back up, so you guys know we are lap 13 of 100. So there we go, just to update you guys a little bit, meaning we can actually put the track map back up for the time being. We will switch back and forth a little bit throughout the course of the race, but we can also put up the lovely logo for the track here at Michigan International Speedway. Look at that. We got all the fancy graphics tonight. It's sitting a little bit low, but unfortunately nothing I can do about that right now. But the 22 and the 3 car still battling it out there. The two, again, sort of affiliate teammates. It's kind of hard to consider the Lad Pedal Motorsports guys teammates when they technically don't share points in the championship, but I believe they do still share the same audio chat in order to talk to each other throughout the race about strategy and things of that sort. So, well, wondering if that is the case for everybody in the group or just a few, but unfortunately I don't actually know. Looking back through the field a little bit, so you see the two Lad Pedal Motorsports green cars of Devin Crosby and Josh Gallagher. Of course, the battle for the top 3 is still raging on, but for the time being, it looks like guys are intentionally trying to avoid gaining positions here. Both Rich Foligno and Andrew Bedrosian are both the head and the caboose of that pack. Two guys that have come very close to winning at races in the past, especially oval races they've had success at. So the fact that Rich almost won the race earlier this season at Talladega, and Bedrosian, I think, came very close to winning it at Charlotte. So two guys with definitely something to prove tonight, just the same way Michael and Logan have at specific track types over the past couple of weeks. Top 4 again. You could almost throw a blanket over the top 4 cars there. They are running very, very close right now. I'm just trying to fix in the background the track map to move it up a little bit, just because it does sit a little bit low. But for the time being, that top 4 is going to remain the same way. Still no cautions at 15 laps in. Michael's going to throw a huge block on Logan. He's actually going to decide to commit to the bottom line this time and try to make the pass on Bedrosian. Now Logan's going to go with him, see if he can take that second position as well. Andrew definitely wants to get in between those two guys if he can, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Going to go side by side as Pacza and Bedrosian. Still sitting there side by side. Logan's got the inside line coming into 2 or into 1. So, oh, they're going to bump side by side. Bedrosian looking for the bottom line. I think trying to send it 3 wide. Logan would not give up that space. So, Logan Pacza will now move up into the second spot, and Michael will take the race lead. Bedrosian's heading backwards, and now he slots in to make sure Rich Foligno can't do what the other drivers did and make the pass on him for, well, what it would have been 3rd at the time. Still in the background trying to fix some stuff, so, you know, multitasking, I like to think it's one of my strengths in this series, so hopefully we have the track map moved up a little bit in just a moment. A little better? Yeah, that's almost good. We'll fix it a little bit higher. But on track, looks like the top 4 drivers have remained in their current positions. There we go. I'm pretty happy with where that sits, so there we go, got that fixed for you. But speaking of fixing things, Bedrosian wants to get back his second place position. He lost just a moment ago to Logan Pacza. Going to send it to the bottom side. Looks to make it work here, and I believe he will as he pulls away. I shouldn't say pulls away, actually. Logan got a great run on the outside of the corner. Going to go live there with Logan's car. Going to get a chopper cam. He actually makes it completely clean right past him, so don't even actually need to. But you see just how much the top 4 have pulled away from the guys behind him. I mean, Devin Crosby's sitting back about 2 seconds of everybody else ahead. After that, Josh Gallagher about 2.5 seconds, but Josh Gallagher, just a quick blip. I was going to say, it looked like he dropped out, but that does not appear to be the case. Speaking of dropping out, Max Preston has dropped out of the race at some point. You saw him getting squirrely there. I don't know what happened, but I think this is the second time this year that just mysterious technical problems have given him trouble, and I really hope he's able to make it back in, but traditionally when they say out entirely, it means that they have been, they're no longer being scored in the race, I should say, so. Unfortunate to note, because Max is a guy that, man, he's doing well in practices and he's doing really well at the road course races. It's just for whatever reason he's had a few races that he hasn't been able to finish. So unfortunate to see there. Hopefully he's able to get those problems figured out for the rest of the season. And speaking of the top 4, once again, Logan's still trying to defend that spot from Andrew Bedrosian behind him. Going to go to his rear chase camera just to see exactly what he's looking at there. Of course, we're now looking at the car of Logan Pacza, the first time this is going to pop up today. Logan looking behind. Andrew's now going to look underneath heading into corner 1. He's got a pretty good run, but I don't think he's close enough in order to get the move done. Actually, he might be. Logan kind of bobbles a little bit, had to check up in order to make the corner. We're going to go side by side onto the backstretch, still making it work. We're going to go to the chopper camera just so you can see the pass made when it happens. Still under his corner panel is the 22 car of Andrew Bedrosian. Going to head into the corner. He's still there. Nice move there. I mean, that was aggressive because if Logan had decided to come down, which he rightfully could have, he would have taken the 2 gentlemen right out, but no, he was able to make it work. Bedrosian will make the pass, and with all this chaos happening behind him, Michael is just pulling away there up front. That first position is becoming more and more dominantly held by him by the second. But, well, currently a little bit of a, actually an impressively clean race here as we get to the 1/5 of the way through the race point, so it's always good when you can see races like this, and keep it pretty clean overall. I mean, of course, the last thing I want to see is guys just constantly having to get in incidents and everything. So good to see that we have been able to keep it pretty clean so far. by far the longest we've gone without a caution stint at the beginning of an oval race in the entire series history. I'm going to put up the battle box right now just to show you the gap between the top 4 as it stands. See there between Chrobok, Bedrosian, Pacza, and Foligno sitting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th respectively. Chrobok again starting to pull away a little bit, but every time they get on the straightaways, the slipstream is going to be able to help Bedrosian close into Michael little bit by little bit. And for the time being, that certainly appears to be the case. As he is pulling his way up there into corner. Oh, I guess they're coming out of corner 2. Gotta wonder, and we'll see just how much he can find a way to pull himself up there a little bit. Gonna go to the chase view. Wrong car there, but on Andrew Bedrosian, we'll see exactly how much room he makes up here in the 3rd to 4th corner transition. Actually seemed to lose him a little bit there. I'm wondering if Michael is actually managing to conserve tires a little bit, or just as a result of not needing to battle too much. Really, the entire battle happened behind him. It looked like the move he made on Andrew Bedrosian was pretty inconsequential on his tires. Didn't look like he had to go through too much to make that move at the time. So the fact that that is the case means his tires should hold out pretty well for the rest of the stint until all the drivers decide to come into pit, which should be a few laps from now. I'm not exactly sure how long they can go on fuel, but I would guess probably somewhere in the range of 50 laps. So we'd be halfway through the fuel stint, but the question is, when are guys going to come in for tires? You would lose a lap pitting at any point throughout the race. You would lose a lap to the guys, well, I guess you're driving around if you're in this case. So if Bedrosian were to pit, he would lose a lap to the guys around him. But even with that, I mean, new tires is always an advantage if you think you can go in a long race without a caution to bunch everybody up. So you got to think in a long green flag stop. If you think we can go without cautions, you got to strategize and say, okay, well, what are the pros and cons of maybe avoiding making any moves at all that would, well, in any way harm my chance at a win? Because if you were to go without cautions entirely, the optimal strategy would be to pit for tires, I think, maybe 3 times rather than the normal 2 pit stops. The question is, will that be the case tonight? Of course, the real question is, will we actually not get another caution for the foreseeable future in the race, which, again, would surprise me heavily if it were to be the case. But, I mean, we're a pretty clean group. I wouldn't put it past them. And speaking of passing somebody, Bedrosian is going to head underneath Chrobok here and take back the race lead. So the 22 car will once again lead more laps. I think either him or Michael would have the most laps led right now, but Logan is going to hit the outside wall. Singular incident. Do we have a caution? We don't appear to. No caution. Logan's going to rejoin the track. I think that was completely unprovoked. I think that was just a solo incident. I don't know if I've ever seen Logan just have a singular incident by himself that didn't relate to anybody else, but see the number 1 Spitfire car there with the red number of Logan Pacza. Got a little bit of a twitch going there. I'm not sure what exactly that was. It just kind of a twitch that he got going up to the top line. Just kind of shot the car to the right and up into the outside wall. He was able to rejoin the track. Let's see where he is live now. Now he's in a battle with Justin Lewick and Josh Gallagher. That's all the way down in 7th. So, well, the race up front for the top 2 positions just got significantly easier for Bedrosian and Chrobok, but unfortunate luck for Logan Pacza. You can see him on the track map sitting all the way back there in 7th, now trying to make the move on Josh Gallagher, but on dirty tires, you got to wonder how much damage he took off that outside wall. He's going to come down to pit road this time, so hopefully he's able to woe it up in time, but he does appear to need to pit. So now, as I talked about with tire strategy, of course, this isn't the traditional reason you'd need to, but well, hopefully he is able to come back out in pretty decent repair and make a challenge for the for really any position. I shouldn't even say the race lead until we get a caution, because I think that's almost a too large of a gap to make up again under green, even with new tires at this point, because obviously he's going to be about a lap and a half back. Also missed his pit box. Just not a great set of laps there for Logan Pacza, unfortunately. Speaking of great laps, we got a great battle going here with Michael Chrobok and Andrew Bedrosian going side by side. They technically aren't teammates, so there's nothing wrong with that. Andrew's just going to cleanly take the top line there, but Michael's going to have the better run coming into the corner, just the way that Andrew entered the corner a little bit too high. Now Andrew is going to maintain that position with Michael drafting in right on behind him. Now Michael's going to look to the high side. Andrew's going to block the bottom. He's going real aggressively trying to hold this position. Looks like he's trying to lead every lap he possibly can. To report back on Logan Pacza, he has now exited pit road, or he is as we speak, so he'll hop back on the track, a lap down, and it's important to note. Going to go to a break momentarily, but for the time being, I just want to see where exactly this battle goes. Andrew Bedrosian appears to be able to maintain his lead pretty handily. Got a pretty good gap there on the straightaway, so I think he shouldn't be able to make the pass in the corner should Michael Chrobok. So, well, with that, I think as we hit the quarter mark of the race duration as a whole, we're going to go to our first commercial. So, we're going to go to a side-by-side briefly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the 6th round of the Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2 at Michigan International Speedway. You now see Michael closing in real hard on Andrew, but won't make the pass this time into corner 3. So, we're going to go to our side-by-side, and I will be back momentarily.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome back to Michigan International Speedway for round 6 of the 2020 Karts Computers iRacing Series Season 2. We come back to your lead battle here between Andrew Bedrosian and Michael Chrobok for the first position. You saw on the side-by-side and maybe a few attempts made there by Michael Chrobok to get underneath him and make the pass for the first position, but fortunately for him, just wasn't able to make it work, and now Andrew will still maintain the lead position for the time being. Back in the field a little bit, the two Garrett brothers, actually just up ahead of the 2 leaders here, about to be lapped cars, but for the time being, they're close enough that they could almost have a battle if John's able to have a good corner 3 and 4 here, so important to head back. The best way to identify them between the two is Manuel Guerra is the driver with black rims there, and John is the one with white rims there in the number 11 car. But Manuel actually getting a little bit squirrely there coming through the tri-oval. I'm not sure if John just pitted or what, but he's dropped off the screen a little bit, so maybe just didn't get a good run through corner 3, but the 2 leaders there are coming up quick. They're going to make the pass this time by, so we'll see how they're able to treat the lap car there. John Guerra, he's going to go all the way to the bottom and let the 2 cars pass. Should make the move pretty handily. Yep, makes it pretty clean, so John's sitting kind of in the middle of the track, but if he needs to make the corner on old tires, you almost can't blame him for something like that. Back in the field a little bit, you can see Rich Foligno actually starting to catch up there in the Ford striped blue and white entry of the Light Pedal Motorsports team, or Light Pedal Motorsports Blue, I should say. So 2 LPM Blue guys in the top 3 and sitting in 2nd and 3rd respectively. Of course, Andrew Bedrosian is technically on Light Pedal Motorsports Orange, but because his supposed, or the team might have set him up for the season hasn't actually showed up to a race as of yet. Well, technically it's a one-man team. Manuel is going to block Andrew there, meaning they're going to go side by side. Michael should get the position entirely. Just kind of a miscommunication there from Manuel. He just didn't really move out of the way in a way that would allow Bedrosian to pass without having any trouble from Chrobok behind. So Chrobok will make the pass thanks to that incident, and he will now pull away with the first position. Now Rich Foligno back in the field a little bit further, should make the pass without any difficulty, so he will move up to 3 pretty handily. Back in the field a little bit, Devin Crosby will make the move on John Guerra there, and will now attempt to continue his charge all the way up there to 3rd position. Light Pedal Motorsports actually has 4 drivers in the top 5, or sorry, 5 in the top 6. The only exception right now being Justin Lewis sitting in the 5th position. Incredible race. That's right, incredible race he had a few weeks ago there at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but when it comes to showing off at ovals, I think it's been a little while since we've seen like a really great standout oval race from Justin Lewis. So tonight, as he sits in 5th, a caution would definitely do him some good. But well, you got to think he's just the same way as a few other drivers. He's got something he probably wants to prove tonight when it comes to getting back through the field at oval races, more so than just road courses like he did at Mosport. Back in the field a little bit from there is Josh Gallagher sitting there in the 6th position. Josh has kind of had a little bit of an uneventful race. He had a very eventful start to it with a few battles that he was involved in there as everybody tried to fan out from that initial start. So, well, he will continue to sit in the 6th position for the time being. 5 seconds ahead is Justin Lewick, and all the way 10 back is Marshall Crocker Sr. So, doesn't really have any meaningful battles to deal with right now. Speaking of my father, Marshall Crocker Sr. there in the 24, Tim Horton's car. I think so far a pretty uneventful race, I would say. As usual, I know the way he likes to treat his race strategy is he always prioritizes the, getting to the end of a race rather than necessarily having too many busy battles throughout it. I'm sure the goal obviously right now is to stay on the lead lap until we can get to either a caution or a good pit stint that would allow him to pull away. But, well, you got to think he's thinking in playing the long game like he often does. So he makes the pass on Justin Luke, who I think checked up entering pit road. Can't quite tell if he has damage there. The livery doesn't make it too easy to see, but yeah, he doesn't appear to have any. So I guess he just kind of checked up coming into the pits, which will hurt his time a little bit. But being the first driver without incident, of course, incident referring to Logan Pacza there, who had to pit to repair a little bit of damage, but the first driver without an incident to come down pit road. So interesting plan there. Got to see if that's part of a longer term thing or if he just really felt like he needed to grab a new set of rubber there. Of course, here at Michigan, new rubber, new tires, new anything with much more grip can be absolutely the best thing you need at any given point. So, well, don't blame him at all if that's the plan. But let's look back up to the front of the field. Michael Chrobok remains your race leader pretty handily right now. go out to the wide camera, you can see that's Andrew Bedrosian coming into the pits this time by the orange entry there of Andrew Bedrosian. You see him coming down pit road, so there he is. He goes by. The 22 car will head in. The first of the Lead Pedal Motorsports cars to come into the pit road this time, so interesting plan. Again, you got to wonder what they're trying to coordinate there. I guess the LPM Blue guys are probably going to come in the same lap to try to preserve some semblance of a slipstream if they're able to. They currently look a little bit too far. As you can see, nobody even in the frame there with Michael Chrobok to allow him to get a drafting partner going there with Rich Foligno. So, well, Josh Gallagher will make the move on Andrew Bedrosian coming into the pits there momentarily. Nope, actually still sitting there for the time being. So, getting a little bit of damage repaired, meaning that Devin Crosby and Josh Gallagher will move up into third and fourth. And with that, we now have 2 LPM Blue drivers and 2 LPM Green drivers in the top 2 and then third and fourth spots respectively. Now all 3 LPM cars are going to come in. Chrobok comes in this time, Rich Foligno comes in this time, Devin Crosby comes in this time. Got a bit of a miniature pit party happening there, so we will see who is able to win the race off pit road. Chrobok and Foligno actually came in real close that time, so there is a chance that one of them could take the position from one another. We're just going to pull down the session information for the time being, and we're going to go back to our old taker system. We just got to move it up a little bit because it does sit naturally low for some reason. Again, it does look more presentable, but unfortunately it doesn't actually reveal the lap number, at least not as far as I can make it for the time being, so I'm sure there's a way to edit it, but I have to figure that out. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. Well, that was quick. So, we can actually keep this up for the whole race, which is nice, because I think it looks a lot more presentable. If you guys want to let me know in the chat if you enjoy it, then feel free to, but, well, Andrew Bedrosian appears to have made the pass there on the pit road cycle. He will now come into the pits. The track map is a little bit unnecessary now, but we can try to move it back down. Actually, we'll just get rid of it for the time being. Currently not all too helpful because we have the timing up there up top. So it looks like Andrew Bedrosian came out about 2.3 seconds ahead of Michael Chrobok for now. Michael, as you can see here, rounding through corners 3 and 4. About a few seconds back from Andrew Bedrosian. He's now got some room to make up, but Andrew must have had a great pit-in, pit-out lap because he came out 2 seconds ahead, and he was behind him at the time being when they came into the pits the first time, or at least Bedrosian did on his own. So Andrew will take the race lead, of course, looking for his first series win all time, let alone on an oval. I think everybody's going to get past Marshall Crocker Sr. this time. I saw him there in the apron, and I don't believe he's being scored on the lead lap. So important to note, Logan Pacza is now up into the 4th position. Back in the field a little bit, you see they're trying to chase down Devin Crosby, who's just exiting the pits. Wonder if he can get a good run, if there's any chance that he'd be able to make the pass this time for, I guess, what would be the 3rd position. Actually, Crosby is a lap down, all the way down there. I guess he would have just pitted, but I wonder if he had damage to make up or something, because he is notably back. Did he have a pit road penalty or something? But he is noticeably back from the cars in front of him. He pitted with the guys ahead, and I thought he was up there battling for 3rd, so it would have made sense it was for the lead lap, but it doesn't appear to be for the time being, so not quite sure what happened there to Devin Crosby, but he is all the way down in the 9th position now. We'll do a quick through the field once I ensure that everybody is finished pitting, which I believe they almost have. Looks like everybody is back out on track after their pit cycles. Justin Lewick, as we mentioned a second ago, I think he had some trouble getting onto pit road, and as a result, he is a few seconds back of when he came in, sitting down about, I believe, 26 seconds back of your leader, Andrew Bedrosian, so that does appear to be the case. We are going to do a quick through the field segment here, so let's look at your race leader, Andrew Bedrosian, for the time being. So that is on camera. There we go. So race leader Andrew Bedrosian, of course, important to mention that he is looking for his very first series win tonight. He has come so very close several times this year. Of course, the only driver to finish on the podium every race of Season 2. He did so last week when he came, or sorry, I shouldn't say last week, last race, when he came in 3rd at Nurburgring Nordschleife, and the week before, I believe he also came 3rd at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So he finds a lot of success in finishing on the podium, but now he's looking for a little bit more, I'm sure. He sounds like a very confident guy that believes in his abilities whenever I talk to him. So got to think there with that dog car, he could bring it to Victory Road, or Victory Lane, and go get himself a bone that is the trophy. Of course, speaking of the dog car, it's kind of cute that, well, I guess if they framed it a little differently, maybe the grill of the front of the car would look like a dog mouth, but that's an entirely different conversation to speak of. So Andrew, your current race leader, has led the most laps for sure, and well, he's now got Michael Chrobok a few seconds back of him, I believe about 2.5, as we see the ticker will tell us momentarily. I might switch the mode to something a little different. Maybe let me know what you guys prefer, as it is now going to be in scroll mode when it gets through this current set of positions. But Michael Chrobok sitting in the 2nd position. he is looking for his third race win of the season, which would tie Logan Pacza. Of course, Logan Pacza, the only driver with 3 on the season thus far, winning 3 in a row from races 2nd to 4, or 2 to 4, including an oval earlier this season at Charlotte. So Michael is the oval master, as I've called him all series, and the fact that he's given up an oval race, which I'm sure doesn't totally suit his fancy, means that, well, he's probably got something that once again he wants to prove tonight and make a statement. As you can see there, just about 2 seconds back on the ticker up top there. So, well, Michael is powering through the field. He's trying to make up 10th by 10th per lap, and I mean, Andrew's a quick guy, and he's in qualifying. I know Michael was on pole, but Andrew certainly wasn't too far behind. So, well, you got to think he's going to do his very best as he can to make up the positions he needs and go for, as I mentioned, the 3rd race win of the season and his 2nd oval win of the year. After that, Rich Foligno, the other LPM blue car. Again, I will go momentarily to the team standings for this season so far, at least going into this race. But, well, currently, Rich Foligno is going through a pretty good race so far. I mean, he was able to avoid all the chaos earlier in the race, which was, I guess, chaos is relative. Nobody actually did end up crashing, but there was a lot of competitive racing at the beginning, and he kind of just sat back in the catbird seat and watched it all happen. Meaning that once Logan Pacza did come off the track, Rich was able to capitalize on that and gain the position. So Rich sitting in 3rd there. Another guy looking for his very first race win of the series. He's come very close a number of times, including, as I mentioned earlier, this season at Talladega, where he came super close, but it was just that last corner incident that took out everybody but Michael Chrobok in that final lap that unfortunately meant that he couldn't quite win the race. So looking for revenge tonight, no doubt. Well, it's not revenge. He's not really going for anybody, but looking for payback on that one. After that, Logan Pacza, an important guy to mention tonight, because he did have an incident a few laps, well, a few laps relative, probably around lap 30, that did take him out of the race. Remember, he hit the outside wall, came across the infield, and was forced to pit for damages. Now sits all the way back and forth, which is a little bit uncharacteristic of him. He doesn't tend to sit outside the top 3 too often, but, well, you never know. He's pushing back up through the field. He's lost a few tenths to the leaders this time, but, well, he's doing his very best, and I know when it comes to ovals, he's getting better and better, just the same way everybody else is getting better and better at road courses. So you got to think a guy that is by no means out of the winner's picture tonight yet is Logan Pacza, your current championship points leader. After that, running at the top 5 is Josh Gallagher, who I know occasionally has internet issues, so hopefully that is it. There he goes, he's back, so we'll try to make it quick just so that the feed doesn't drop out again. But the 6th car of Josh Gallagher, LPM green teammate of Devin Crosby, a little bit further back in the field. Josh has had a very good season. Well, when he's been out for races, I know he had a little bit of trouble there in the earlier race this season at Watkins Glen, but that was more of a result of incidents around him than anything. And then when it comes to ovals, he's always been stellar. I mean, he was really, really good earlier this season at Talladega. So since then, he's kind of been through a drought, but he's looking to gain some positions and make a move up there, maybe even to the top 3. I don't think he's been on the podium since the first ever race of our series, when he was the first ever winner in the Karts Computers Racing Series at Indy last year. After that, sitting in the 6th position is Justin Lillick, a guy that I haven't really got too much of a chance to talk about because, well, besides briefly avoiding an incident earlier, he's kind of just been running on his own. Did pit earlier than anybody else on fuel, so, oh, he's going to hit the outside wall there, right as I mentioned. He's had a pretty clean day. Makes some brief contact with the outside wall, manages to save it, so hopefully he should be good the remainder of the race, but it doesn't look like he made too much contact there, at least not enough that would have significant damage. So Justin's had a pretty clean race as well. Nobody's really had any midfield passes for positions, so for the time being, he will maintain the 6th position. We will continue this in a moment because up front, the battle between Michael and Andrew is heating up. And speaking of heating up, Michael is going to go straight underneath this time by, so Andrew will cough up the 1st place position to Michael Chrobok. And you probably saw in the ticker lap by lap, he was just getting closer and closer to the point where now they go side by side into corner 1. The 22 and the 3 car, the 22 up top of Bedrosian. Again, 2 affiliate teammates there, both lad pedal guys, but Andrew for orange and Michael for blue. Andrew's going to have a good run there on the top. Should be able to maintain the position if he tries, but now they're going to go side by side once again. Going to go to our chopper camera just to give you a better idea of exactly how this battle progresses. As, well, for the time being, Andrew's going to be able to hold the position on the backstretch. He got a great run off of corner 2, but, well, now with only a few corners left in the lap, he should be able to maintain his laps led. I don't believe he hasn't led a lap in the last 20. Now he's going to go to the bottom, try to defend the position hard from Michael. Michael's going to have a pretty good run. Is he going to try to throw it under this time? Now he's going to look to the high side, maybe throw off Andrew a little bit. Michael's going to have to check up in order to ensure that he doesn't rear end Andrew, because again, they may not be official teammates, but they have gotten pretty close and they've developed a little bit of an on-track bond over the past couple of races this season, so you got to think you wouldn't want to throw that away for anything. In the background there, I believe, is one of the two Diablo Motorsports cars. Not exactly positive which one, but we will see in a moment. That view actually gives you a great view of that lovely dog livery we see there from Andrew Bedrosian. That Diablo Motorsports car there in the yellow in the background actually made a really good entry into corner 3 there, I think. So made up a little bit of room, but is now going to follow to frame. I believe I can almost guarantee that it is Manuel Guerra, but up front for the lead once again, Michael's going to go straight underneath this time. Bedrosian didn't try to block the inside line, so Michael will make a pretty uncontested pass for the inside, and he will once again take the race lead. Again, got to wonder if this was coordinated, because for the time being, Andrew had no drafting partner up there up front. He was sitting there about 2 seconds ahead, just had nobody to work with. So now at least he's got somebody up there with him, as Michael Chrobok, I guess, now becomes his drafting buddy. Michael would have got a few laps of drafting help out of that, but honestly, I don't think if that is the plan, it's going to work all too well with how short he was behind Bedrosian. And now he's not going to be, or now he's once again going to be behind Bedrosian, because he's going to make the move to the inside. Bedrosian on the low line, he's got to come up and rejoin the track. Now I think he was going to pull the over-under there, was Michael Chrobok, but decides against it. Chrobok right on the back bumper of Bedrosian all the way around the tri-oval. Walking down to the inside there in corner 1 is Michael, but doesn't make a move on it for the time being. Andrew Bedrosian's still up ahead, starting to break away a little bit by about a half a car length, but Michael's going to get a pretty good run onto the backstretch here if he's able to avoid the wall, which he does appear to be. Justin Lewis sitting there in the infield. Not exactly sure what's happened to him. I mean, we saw a few laps ago when he hit the outside wall there in corner 2, but appears to be able to regain his footing on the track, but he's going to go in the apron, meaning I assume he's heading into the pits this time to repair damages. Still no cautions, though, important note. This is the most caution-free race I think we've ever had in this series, so impressive work from the drivers once again. Of course, important note, cautions are on. We just really haven't had the opportunity to need one. But this battle for first position has been great all race. Bedrosian and Chrobok going back and forth. Now we get to the halfway point of our race here. Getting to the start of lap 51. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's been a pretty light speed race here tonight. I don't even think we've gone an hour yet on the broadcast, and we're already halfway through. So got a few more things to show at the end of the race, I guess. But for the time being, we just get to watch this great battle between Bedrosian and Chrobok. Chrobok still drafting very nicely on the back of the 22 car. I guess, as I mentioned, they were trying to get the fuel strategy going there, and I would presume, being with the draft, once you can save a little bit of fuel on the straightaways, you can go a little bit longer, and maybe they're trying to make it a one-stopper and try not to pit for the rest of the race, but I think they would have pitted a little bit too early for that to be the case, and probably wouldn't have been too practical on tires either. You'd be running some horrible laps by the end of those tire stints. Now Michael's going to look to the high side, but Andrew just got a way better run through corner 1, so should be able to maintain that position going forward. But yeah, I know we've done a few races back-to-back at Skip Barber where your tires get better the longer you run on them. This is the exact opposite in terms of tire wear. Like, we've gone to the polar opposite of that, because Michigan tires, the older they get, the more brutal they can be, and you just find yourself sliding up faster and faster into that outside wall. Kind of reminds me of, if we all remember the All-Star race last year that I was in, you saw throughout the course of the race, trying to avoid that outside wall became harder and harder, and I made contact with it a few times in an attempt to get the best lap times possible. And the guys are going through an exact same thing here, just the same as Charlotte, but got to think how much less banking we have here at Michigan than Charlotte as well. So that is, it's not a tough task to overcome at all, and trying to both coordinate a battle and trying to maintain a position like Andrew Bedrosian is right now, as well as avoid the outside wall thanks to tire wear. It's no easy feat, and we actually looked through the field there and saw Justin Lillick having to pit that time. He's rejoined the track, but he's done it all the way down to 10th position, meaning that a few drivers, including Manuel Guerra, John Garrett, Marshall Crocker, and I believe Devin Crosby, will all gain positions as a result. But back to the front of the field, Michael Chrobok, while I looked away, made a beautiful pass there in corners 3 and 4, and he will slide right by Andrew Bedrosian for the time being. Andrew will now try to chase once again, and we might go on board with Andrew Bedrosian here for our second break of the day. Now he's going to look underneath and make the pass back. Well, we can't quite go away for a break while we have racing as good as this, so I'm going to take a brief moment and wait, but great move there by Andrew Bedrosian, going to take the position right back. He didn't quite lead the lap that time, so Michael will get himself back in the sheet for the most laps led, or at least back in the conversation if he gets a few more like that. But of course, at this point in the championship, these guys sit in second and third respectively. 24 points back is Michael, and then 7 points back at him is Andrew. So 31 points back, I guess, in total from Logan is Andrew Bedrosian. So the top 3 in the championship now all sitting in the top 4. Of course, Logan moved back to the 4th position, but he's recovered quite well after his earlier incident. But definitely point precedence between these top 2. They are fighting for every spot they can take, and if Andrew were able to come away with the win, it would definitely have good points implications for him. He's going to try the over-under entirely there. That's going to be brutal on his tires. He's almost going to make contact with him up top. These guys going around and forcing a caution would absolutely throw this race into chaos, because currently I think everybody's pretty good on tires and fuel, so should be a pretty quiet 2-stopper if no chaos were to ensue. Rich Foligno sitting back a little bit, about 5 seconds back. He's actually not dropping back at the top two. I would have thought with the slipstream the top two would be getting that they would be pulling away from Mr. Foligno, but I guess the fact that he is not attempting to battle with another car would make his race a little bit simpler, and in turn would mean that he'd be okay when it came to trying to catch up to the two in front of him. Again, of course, Andrew Bedrosian is looking for his first ever race win in the series, but again, so is Rich Foligno, as well as I guess Devin Crosby sitting there in the sixth position, but he is currently a lap down, so he's got some work to do if he wants to get that first win for the time being. Michael's now starting to break away a little bit, so I think that's as good a time as any to go to a brief side-by-side. We're going to head on board with Andrew Bedrosian, and we'll be right back with round 6 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series at Michigan International Speedway.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And we're back with round number 6 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series Season 2. Again, currently sitting on board with Andrew Bedrosian. You actually saw there in the background, if you were watching the side-by-side, Justin Lug just made the pass to Andrew Bedrosian, and now making on Michael Chrobok as well. He's going to slide right to the top of the track, but Justin is on new tires, which should give you an idea of just how bad the tires can get after quite a few laps, as they were both, the two front leaders were passed handily by a lapped car there, that being Justin Lewis, who, of course, is very quick, but really in terms of pure race pace, you would have thought that your top two would have a little bit more than getting absolutely blown by Justin Lewis in the 7 there. So, well, Justin will make the move there, and we'll get a lap back. I believe that'll put him only a single lap down, which, if we get a caution, will bode well for him, as well. I guess he's back in the conversation for getting the lucky dog pass. But currently, Andrew Bedrosian still remains in the 2nd position, trying to make up room there on Michael Chrobok. Going to look to the bottom side this time, try to take that lead back from him again. Almost uncontested, the passes between these two. They just don't seem to really have too many issues when it comes to giving each other the positions politely when they know they really should just give them up. And sometimes that is the better thing to do. I mean, if you think about how many laps we have to go, actually 40 this time by, there's plenty of time left in the race. So it passes that happen now. Sure, in terms of like lead laps, they're a bad thing, but I'd argue that the gain you get through conservation by sitting behind another driver is more advantageous than actually making the pass itself. So I think this is a solid move from Michael if it's intentional, and I think it's solid from Andrew if it's intentional as well. Again, they are on the I think the same video chat or the same audio chat throughout the entire race. So if this is coordinated and they're just trying to pull away from the field behind them on good fuel amounts and get to the end of the race with good tires and plenty of fuel left in the tank, then, well, it's very well coordinated by the Lad Pedal Motorsports guys, which I think is the advantage they've really had all season. I know at some points throughout the series that they can have a little bit of trouble when it comes to, well, not a little bit of trouble when it comes to coordinating, but a little bit of trouble when it comes to keeping up with like guys like Logan Pacza at certain races. So Michael, of course, has been absolutely dominant throughout the season, and the same with Michael Chrobok, but Andrew Bedrosian, I should say. But the advantage of having a team and a number of affiliates as large as Lad Pedal Motorsports is that it means that, well, throughout the series, at every track, you constantly get to share information, you get to share plans when it comes to testing. And guys like Logan Pacza, I mean, he has his teammate Logan Ferguson, but Logan's not even here tonight. So sometimes when we have rougher attendance like this, it means that, well, Logan is left without any teammates to team up with throughout the course of the race, and that can be absolutely brutal when it comes to trying to make a pass for the lead and have it not being coordinated with other drivers. Speaking of a pass for the lead here, Michael Chrobok is going to head underneath Andrew Bedrosian. We're going to go side by side once again. We're going to use the lovely chopper camera because I barely get to use it. And it's always very fun too. I'm actually going to pull down the driver name as well. But yeah, you see here side by side with Bedrosian and Chrobok. Bedrosian's going to go all the way to the high side, so we should have a little bit of a better corner entry, which means Chrobok's going to have to slide up in order to make the corner. But Andrew actually backed off a little bit coming there into the corner entry. Not sure if he's going for the over-under or if they're coordinating that Andrew would now sit behind in order to conserve a little bit of fuel. Looks like that is indeed the case. So we did have a previous through the field segment going, so now that Michael's pulling away quite a bit from Andrew that time by, you can see on the graphic just like on your screen just how far apart they've pulled away. So maybe Michael has said, okay, enough of this. I'm just going to try to run my race and make up as much ground as I can. I think the best advantage of that would be they're catching up to Josh Gallagher lap by lap. So if they're able to get Gallagher and put him a lap down, of course he is a teammate, but when it comes to going for the lead, you want to put anybody a lap down as you possibly can. Actually, if Josh goes a lap down, then Devin Crosby would lose his current privilege of being able to use the Lucky Dog Pass. So when it comes to Lead Pedal Green, I mean, one of their drivers will get it. In the case of a caution, it just depends on what driver that will be. But currently, that will be nobody, as again, we seem to go caution-free throughout this entire portion of the race. Again, one of the cleanest races I've ever seen in the Karts and Computers Racing Series, so props to all the drivers involved. For those of you that maybe are just joining us, I know it's not a huge viewer base tonight, at least not compared to some of our earlier races this season, but maybe if any of you out there are new to this series, then just letting you, or new to this race specifically, just letting you know some of the details. Logan Pacza earlier in the race made contact with the outside wall, sent himself down into the pits, and needed to repair damages, but he has made a beautiful comeback all the way up to 4th position, seemingly only 26 seconds behind those guys in front of him. Just the same way that Justin Lewick did a few weeks ago at Mosport, kind of a very similar race style those two have had so far. And again, if we get a caution, Logan Pacza is right back in this thing, and well, when it comes to trying to maintain a lead, nobody really does it better in this series than Logan Pacza. So Logan had that happen to him earlier in the race, and Justin Lewick has had a pretty chaotic race as well. I'll actually go to him right now. Yeah, Justin Lewick has had a pretty chaotic race as well. I mean, you talked about earlier in the race, he hit the wall a few times at the very start of tonight's race, but more so involved in the chaos of everybody around him passing for position. But he had a big contact we saw live with the outside wall coming into corner 2, which I think gave him a little bit of long-term damage that then sent him into the wall again, which gave him enough damage. It almost hits it again that time. Really aggressive entry into the outside of the corner, which can give him a great run down the backstretch, but of course the downside being if that pass does, or if that move off the wall doesn't work, well, of course you end up in the wall and you can come away with damages, meaning you have to fix them, which unfortunately he did have to that time by. But again, you got to say when it comes to the livery, I mean, I think Justin Lewick, I think we can all say has made a pretty good choice for tonight. So not sure if you guys can quite see that there, but well, besides him, what else do we got going on at the moment? Justin one of actually 2 Chevrolet Camaros in the field, which is kind of a weird detail, but most drivers tonight running Camrys or Fords. Elsewhere in the field, finally, Max Preston, as you can see when you see him on the sliding timer go by. He is actually out of the race tonight, I think with technical difficulties. Not the first time it's happened this season. He just mysteriously seemed to drift off the track for no apparent reason, so unfortunate luck for Max. I mean, I really want him out to a few races, because whenever he's able to make it out, he's a really talented guy, and he's able to make some great races happen, so hopefully he'll be back soon. But for the time being, Michael Chrobok remains a race leader, now getting up about a second of time ahead of Andrew Bedrosian for the time being, so their long-term battle there for the first position has now ended, and Michael will now become kind of the alpha dog at the front of the field when it comes to holding down that lead position. Back in the field a little bit, actually, Josh Gallagher just got passed. Well, he's about to get passed by Andrew Bedrosian on the low side, but Josh Gallagher did actually get passed by Michael Chrobok for his lap to be taken away, so he will now go a lap down, will Josh Gallagher, meaning he will become the lucky dog driver temporarily. Oh, and we've lost his feed. There we go. Now he's back. But that means he will take the lucky dog privileges away from his teammate Devin Crosby, sitting back here in the 6th position there, and the other Lead Pedal Motorsports green car of the number 5 Starbucks entry. Or sorry, it's not Starbucks. I forget what he's got there on the hood, but it is not Starbucks, important to note. But now back up to your leader, Michael Chrobok. Looking elsewhere on the car. I think what better opportunity now that we're staying pretty clean. We're going to go to the new setting I have for cameras called Exciting Mode. Not exactly sure what that necessarily means. I'm not sure what qualifies as exciting to focus on, but I guess for the time being, until we have an incident, this will, I guess, show us incidents if they were to happen better than anybody else. So it'll kind of be like one of those stand-up improv games where they show me a driver and I just talk about him to see how well I can. So well, we're now back up to your leader, Michael Chrobok, who, I mean, exciting, I wouldn't say is the right word for this race so far. I mean, he had a great battle with Andrew Bedrosian most of the middle of the race, and of course he's made the pass now as we come up to lap 70. Almost 30 laps to go here now. But now that he's kind of broken away a little bit and that lead battle is done, he can just kind of focus on coasting to the end of the race, provided he's able to make a good pit stop and everything there. And I mean, it looks like he's conserved his tires a little bit better throughout the process of this race. So if that is indeed the case, and he's breaking away by about a 10th a lap on Andrew Bedrosian, you can actually pull up the lap graphic this time to see if that is indeed the case. But yeah, you can see just, well, it's actually not quite as drastic as I would have thought. I mean, Andrew's a little bit slower per lap, but certainly isn't falling off a cliff or anything. So I think it's just whatever that bobble was when they were having their battle that shot him backwards a little bit. that is more so the reason that he's as, well, I shouldn't say as far behind. It's only about a second behind. You can even see it if you go to the rear view here on Michael. But that orange car in the background is Andrew Bedrosian. That's really not that far. Andrew running about a tenth and just a little bit more slower that last time by, but still not a huge amount. So gotta wonder if there's if there's more at play than that. And it's really just the fact that he did shoot backwards a little bit after their battle. But besides him, so we're now on board with Andrew Bedrosian. But looking at the laps of Rich Foligno behind him, I thought Rich Foligno was actually catching him, but this appears to tell a different story. So Rich is losing a little bit of ground per lap to him, but Rich Foligno does continue to maintain the third position now. I think we'll go to a little bit closer view on his car just to see what he's looking at. It's a little, that's a little bit loud. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but we're gonna go to the gyro view that I always love seeing. We'll throw up the dashboard there, so a little bit of information about what Rich Foligno's doing right now. He's coming up on one of the LPM cars. I think that's Josh Gallagher there in the number 6. So Josh will head to the high side, and Rich will make the pass. But this is always a very fun camera to show, so we'll show this view for a little bit. But this is the gyro view of showing you just how heavy the banking is here at Michigan. And those of you that were watching our Talladega race, I did use this view a few times, and this should give you good context for just how little banking there is at Michigan compared to Talladega, because in the Talladega race, this was going almost entirely diagonal. Looked like Rich almost made some contact with the high side there. It started to rumble around on him a little bit, but, well, if you were a co-driver here in the NASCAR Cup, what car manufacturers you got? If you're running the Ford Mustang car that Rich Foligno is running right now, and you were sitting in the passenger seat, this is what your view would roughly be like. Of course, if your head was somehow on a gyroscope, which I don't think that's how most people drive, as funny as that would be. So, well, Rich Foligno was continuing to muscle through the field. I don't think he is, sorry, muscle through the, I guess not through the field. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but Rich Foligno has now dropped to 7 seconds behind Michael Chrobok, which still, in the grand scheme of how large the track is, that's virtually nothing. And the fact that he's able to keep up with him this well on old tires is impressive, because old tire management is kind of Michael's forte in this series, and the fact that guys aren't really falling back too far from him is a testament to how well they're doing. But, well, speaking of pit stops, actually, Michael has come in, Andrew's come in, Rich has come in, Josh, Devin, and my father are all in the pits this time. I don't know why my pit graphic isn't showing up this race. It's just decided that it doesn't want to be helpful, so fair enough, I guess. I kind of got to find that and see if I can put that back up, because it's always helpful. But, well, Michael will pull into his pit stall. As you can see behind him, Andrew Bedrosian as well. Let's go to your pit lane camera just to see who wins the race off pit road. Remember, about a second was the gap there between Michael and Andrew. See, Michael's got a little bit of an advantage there to Andrew behind him, so he'll pull out of the pits handily faster than the number 22 entry. Andrew's still sitting in the pits. I wonder if he's either fixing damage or if he's serving a penalty on pit entry. I think it's the second option. I think they're serving a penalty for a little bit, because he is still in his pit box. So much chaos happens in these oval races in the pits, and, well, he is losing second by second as he sits there. He is still in the pits at the moment, so not exactly sure what happened. I guess it was just a pit road violation coming in. I guess he, when he crossed the commitment line, he was already over 45 miles an hour, which is the limit. He is still there. So I don't know what the issue is with Andrew Bedrosian, but as a result of all this chaos, well, he's coming in this time, but I was going to say your new race leader is indeed Logan Pacza, who has made a great comeback from the start of the race. I guess he didn't get too discouraged by what happened earlier. Of course, remember, he got in the wall. Kind of got mysteriously squiggly there, got in the wall, and there's my usual graphic, but got in the wall and unfortunately lost a bunch of time as a result, and lost position by position after lap. Looks like Andrew has exited his pit box and is now returned to the track. All the way down in 6th position, though. Remember, he was fighting for the lead there for a large portion of that last stint, so it's a shame to see him lose that spot. But now Logan Pacza is going to come out of the pits, and I believe he will rejoin. Well, there's Justin coming out of corner 4, so no, he's not going to quite catch up to him in time. So, well, I believe Logan Pacza has just taken a commanding 3rd position back once again, meaning that, well, unless, again, some chaos were to go down in these last 26 laps, well, Logan would still be able to come away with a podium position, which I'm sure he wouldn't complain with at all after the adversity that he had to go through at the beginning of this race. And without any cautions, to come all the way back from having to pit early because of damage, all the way back to 3rd position, and still not even a lap down or anything. It's an impressive run today for Logan Pacza, so just want to give a huge props to him on that one. But Michael Chrobok, after the entire pit cycle, didn't seem to have any issues in the pits, so he'll cross the line this time for the beginning of lap 75. As you can see up top, we're going to have 25 laps to go when he comes around. Now 3/4 of the way through this race, and again, we just barely crossed the hour mark on the broadcast a few minutes ago, so this is a fairly short race compared to the usual we have here in the Cars to Computers Racing Series. So Well, it's for those of you that wanted to get to bed early for work, I mean, this is kind of the race to do so. Overall, I just maybe just to see as we wait for everybody to kind of get back out into the swing of things and see where everybody rejoins on track. Just want to ask, like, how is everybody enjoying the broadcast tonight? I know that after the Nurburgring race, we were doing a little bit of an unconventional broadcast setup. Part of it being because we were running at a track that didn't allow for cautions or any breaks of any sort. The trivia was fun. Unfortunately, no trivia tonight. I will, in the future, see if I can get trivia going again for races that I know will have a little bit more time to kill, because it was a lot of fun. It was fun to set up. But how are you guys enjoying the broadcast tonight? I mean, it's, again, a little bit unconventional. Maybe back to the, well, I guess conventional more so than unconventional. This is back to the old way we used to do it. But, okay, well, I can't see the chat. I understand there are chat messages, but for some reason I can't see them. So, well, the program is, or at least YouTube is being a little bit difficult to deal with. But looking in the chat, yeah, people seem to like the ticker on the top, so glad to hear it. It was something that was a little bit unintuitive to set up. In the future, if you guys do enjoy it, there are little changes I can make to it as well, like making the driver numbers numbered, or the driver names color-coded. I should say not numbered, but color-coded, so you guys can better tell apart teammates and figure out the team standings, because, of course, you know, like Glad Pedal Motorsports Blue, the top two right now, actually, it's important to speak of, is Chrobok and Felino, the two Glad Pedal Motorsports Blue drivers. But then I could just put blue on their names, and it would be more easy to tell who is part of what team. It kind of annoys me how quick it scrolls. If I could switch that, I would, and I'm sure I probably could. But after that, it appears that we are all good in terms of the graphic now that we got the laps figured out, and then we got all the you know, fancy logos up top there. We got the Michigan logo, and I'll probably fix the names if we use this graphic going forward. But traditionally, we're still going to use the F1 graphics. I think for road course races, they just work a little bit better. Actually, Devin Crosby just passed Justin Luke for the sixth position. So I guess Justin Luke is going to head into the pits one more time there. Yeah, you see him heading down pit road, and actually lost a lot of room to Devin Crosby before he even came in at all. So I think he must have used the apron there on pit entry to ensure that he had a safe entry more so than prioritizing speed there. No doubt this will be his last pit stop of the race, provided, of course, he doesn't take damage in the final 20 laps. But he will also lose the position, or John Garrow will actually gain a position out of that as well, so John's going to move up to 7th. Marshall Crocker Sr. elsewhere on the track, I believe, will also make the pass on Justin as a result of him coming into the pits. So, oh, he's got one more lap to do so if he wants to catch up, which I think is a little bit too far, even at a track like Michigan. And then Manuel Guerra currently in the pits as well, the only other driver besides Justin Lewis. So your current, I'd go through your top 10, but you can actually see them there on the top ticker pretty well. It's actually updated pretty quickly as well, so very happy that I found this graphic. There are a whole bunch of new graphics I'm trying to implement for the rest of the season. The lovely, I never actually did plug them, but for those of you who ever need graphics of this sort for iRacing for your own needs, I use the SKD gaming package. It's a, I believe it's a British thing, but yeah, the generic package that allows me to put all this stuff up on screen for you, and fairly customizable. Unfortunately, those you know, the stupid race results were just as privateer instead of team names. If I could fix that, we'd be in business. But more important things to talk about here is Michael is coming up very quickly on Logan Pacza, and well, of course, this isn't for a position for the race at the time being. This is important because Logan is sitting in 3rd, and he would currently go a lap down, meaning that if in the case of a caution, he'd get the lucky dog pass, but it would prohibit him from pitting for new tires in order to get it. So if Michael's able to make this pass, it kind of gives himself kind of a safety buffer to the fact that he would have a 1-up on Logan Pacza for the time being. Of course, he would still have Rich Felino in his lap, and we could have an LPM Blue battle to the finish, but provided this stays clean, and Michael's able to make the pass pretty cleanly, provided he does make the pass, which I don't think is a guarantee whatsoever. I mean, Logan, I know he's gone through some adversity today, but he is not backing down here in tonight's race, and he is not losing room, even running by himself. So, got to wonder what's going through Michael's head here, what the plan is with trying to make the pass on him. I would think he would try to keep it as clean as possible. I mean, with only 19 laps to go and an 11-second buffer to Rich Felino behind him, you can almost just kind of sit there and wait for the race to come to you rather than having to worry about making a pass at all. So, interesting to wonder what Michael's strategy will be here. We're looking throughout the field as we wait for that to happen, because it doesn't appear that he's going to try to make the move quite yet. I would have thought he would. Oh, now he's going to head to the bottom this time. I wonder if Logan's even going to try to defend it. For the sake of his race as a whole, I definitely would. It could definitely have some long-term effects if, of course, we get a caution, and then he's right back in the battle for the lead. But no, it doesn't appear he'll be able to. So Michael will make the pass pretty handedly there for the first position. Now Michael's actually going to head to the bottom with Logan, who is outside. We go to our chopper camera. I don't think he's quite cleared him yet, but got a pretty good run on the backstretch to Logan Pacza. So again, this battle is not necessarily by any means over. We'll go to a little bit of a wider camera just to get a better idea of whether or not Michael's able to pull away. And he doesn't appear to be. Somebody on the infield of the track is going to go spinning around. Is that going to be a caution? Doesn't appear to be. No, for the time being we won't, but that was John Guerra there on the inside. We'll have to check exactly what happened there, but Logan almost made a pass there to get his lap back, so that was a little bit more important for the time being. Now we're going to go check on John Guerra and see exactly what happened. Wasn't able to get into the pits, I guess, but let's see exactly what he did just go through. And look at exactly how close he got to the two guys behind him. So there you see, sorry, oh, that's a little bit too high now. We see the replay. So he's going into pit. He's going on pit entrance. Like, he made a pretty good entry. It was just, he didn't even look like he needed to check up. He just lost the back end for some reason. But look at how close his back end comes to Logan Pacza right there. Pacza pulls it away at the complete wrong time when it comes to trying to avoid him. So Logan is sitting there behind Michael, gets a good draft, heads to the inside, and there is the back end of John Guerra, just narrowly misses him. I almost wonder if that would have kind of chain reactioned him into Logan Pacza, if he were, or sorry, into Michael Chrobok, if Pacza were to have hit him. And if that had happened, this would have changed the whole complexity. Complexion, I believe is the word. Sorry, I just got to adjust that back. Unfortunately, it sits really low for some reason, so I have to manually adjust it every time I want to use it. But speaking of the race in big picture, Andrew Bedrosian has actually moved all the way back up to 4th. Remember the chaos he had in the pits there, where he was sitting there for almost an entire extra minute than everybody else on his pit cycle. So again, not quite sure as to why that exactly happened, but Michael Chrobok up front, it said it claimed that he was being lapped there, but seeing that he is the leader of the race, it is quite hard to lap yourself. So I would imagine that my graphics are just trying to play tricks on me. But again, he is currently still trying to defend from Logan Pacza. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it may not be for the lead, and unless we get a caution, it never will be. But well, we do get the classic Chrobok and Pacza oval battles that are famous in this series. I feel like every single oval race we do get one. So even if it can't be for position, I'm glad that we are able to get one at some point in this race. And again, it's important to note, like, it's not for position, but this could be huge for Logan if we are to get a caution, to have that position back and not need to use your lucky dog pass that prevents you from getting tires. If he were to come out of the pits 3rd on a hypothetical caution, which again, seeing how clean everybody's running, should probably be the case. But if that were to happen, and he were to have the lucky dog not necessarily need to be used, then he would be able to save a pit stop to get new tires, come back out 3rd in the line. He'd have only the 2 LPM blue cars ahead of him, and if neither of them pitted, which I think they probably would, but then it's a whole new ball game, provided he's able to keep that position. But if he doesn't, and Logan can't make the move back before a caution comes out, he'll still have the lucky dog, so he'll still remain on the lead lap. But he won't have the option to pit if need be, which would be just a little bit unfortunate. So, sorry, I just got a thing in the chat asking if I can move the ticker down a little bit. I can indeed. So there's a little bit of a white bar there, but hopefully nobody seems to care. Let's look around the chat a little bit early. Yeah, so it looks like now that we got that fixed, hopefully that should be good for you guys at home. I know some screens can cut it off, but hopefully that'll fix it a little bit better, and I will try to implement it for all oval races going forward this season, provided I can get it to work a little better. But again, this battle rages on. Logan just has not seemed to have quite the run that he needs to make the move underneath, and I'm not sure if it's just his corner exits or what, but I think with the slipstream, he would have the opportunity. We can even go to the chase camera on Logan and see exactly how much he's getting on every straightaway, because you can see him pull away and come back to that is not Logan Pacza. That is, you know, sorry, Logan is, there we go. The gray #1 Camaro there, the Spitfire car of Logan Pacza, continuing to chase down Michael Chrobok, but you see here in the chase camera, looking back how far he is there, actually almost right behind him with his bumper, so in a way, the closer you are, the less the slipstream comes into effect, which is sort of how it works. At a certain point, it almost becomes a bump draft, which to bump him out of it would be a lot more controversial than to make the pass cleanly. So ideally, he wouldn't bump Michael out of the way, especially not for an actual position. But he is not giving up here. He's still riding the back of that car all he can, and it wouldn't be for pit for fuel conservation. I would think it would be why you'd be slipstreaming. I don't think so. I would expect that we'd be able to get to the end of this race without too much difficulty, but for the time being, he'll stay behind and still unable to make a pass happen. So Logan Pacza will remain in the 3rd position with a lap to give up to Michael Chrobok in the lead. But we're going to head back a little bit to Rich Foligno, who, again, for somebody who's sitting in 2nd, I don't think I've had the opportunity to talk about somebody so little sitting in 2nd in one of these races with 10 to go, but really with no cautions and not too much controversy, Rich has just done everything he's needed to. He's been like constantly consistent. Not a single opportunity for failure here for him. And well, I think he's got a safe line from what I'm watching, and everything he's doing seems pretty. I mean, there's nothing else to say other than consistent. He just hasn't really had an opportunity to make mistakes, and as such, with only 10 laps to go, with only 10% of the race left, he's just kind of done everything he's needed to, and he's now got about a 30-second gap to the guy behind him in third. And well, the guy ahead of him is his teammate, who he's not quite catching up to. But again, when it comes to the team standings, if there's anybody you want to lose to, it is your teammate. So, well, props to Rich. I think this would be tied for his best finish in the series all time, and I think he's only been on podium once. I only remember one interview with him, so that'd be certainly very cool if we get to interview Rich Foligno for a change. And well, I mean, he's a guy that I've talked about throughout the entire series. It's kind of been my dark horse pick to win at a number of oval tracks, because with a combination of him having a very good teammate in Michael Chrobok, who's more than able to coordinate making good moves with his teammates here at ovals. But on top of that, it's just the fact that he's gotten better and better at every track we've gone to. He puts more and more work in practice. He's one of our most attended drivers to any of our midweek practices before these races. So he's putting in the work, and it's paying off for him. And he's still not even losing ground to Michael Chrobok. I keep checking every time the ticker goes by, and he is not losing ground at all. So great race here for Rich Foligno. Hopefully he's able to end it off on a high note, and I'd be super happy to see him come away with a second. We'll back up to the front to see if anything has progressed. No, Logan is still in the back bumper of Michael Chrobok. Has not dropped an inch to him. He has just stayed there constantly throughout the entire race. And the background there is Marshall Crocker Sr., who, again, another guy that I feel bad about not really talking about. But overall, he's had a pretty quiet race. Somewhere along the way, Justin Lewick got his lap back from him as well. So running a little bit off the pace there. Not exactly sure why. I mean, Michigan's a tough track, but not sure. I know Marshall, my father, has had a great number of races recently. I mean, I think he's finished 6th or 7th in the last 3 or 4, which means he actually sits 6th in the point standings right now. And well, that is by no means a bad spot at all. So, no, he's stayed consistent just the same way that Andrew Bedrosian has, and he's making it work. And I mean, coming away with a 9th position, I mean, I don't think he would lose any positions at all for that. You know, everybody has a few races throughout the season where they just aren't quite able to keep up with the guys around him. I don't think he's been able to I don't think he's gotten in any incidents. I don't think most of the field has. I'd got to think that everybody has 2 quick repairs to go, but well, he's had a great last few races as of late, and I know we're heading to Spa-Francorchamps next week, which I know personally as a son is one of his favorite tracks of all time, probably his favorite in the world. So you got to think if there's a track he's going to put in some good effort in and put in a great performance, it's next week at Spa-Francorchamps. So looking for bigger and better things. Well, no, I guess not. Well, looking for big things for the rest of the year from my dad, I should say. Speaking of which, actually, we're going to go to John Guerra, also sitting there with his other Diabolic Motorsports teammate, Manuel Guerra. The two of them sitting in 8th and 10th, respectively. The two Diabolic Motorsports cars. I think the thing I would say that they've excelled at all year is just the same way as my dad often does, is focusing on conservation of maybe tires and pace and things like that. Like, they're looking for the long term at all times. They're very they're very forward thinking. And it's something that I think has paid off for them throughout the season, is they don't have any DNFs, I think, combined between the two of them. So they're very consistent, and I think in a race that focused more on attrition, which we haven't had in a little bit, the next time we get an attrition-based oval race, I think one of the two Diabolic Motorsports cars, I think, could easily finish on the podium. I think they're getting better and better race by race, and I mean, Manuel is definitely more of a specialist on the road course from my understanding of his experience. But I don't know, John, at these ovals, he did great at Talladega earlier this year, so both guys that I think will do themselves well for the rest of the season. And I'm talking about Max Preston, but unfortunately, again, he did head into the race earlier with some mysterious incidents. So 5 laps to go for the lead of the race. Again, I haven't talked about it in a little bit because Michael has had a pretty controlling and commanding stranglehold on the lead for the last few laps, and now Rich Foligno has kind of stayed in that exact gap for the longest time, sitting just about 13 seconds back of him. So, well, we're going to go 4 laps to go this time by. Logan's still sitting right behind him there. Again, if I were him, I'd be doing everything I possibly could to get my lap back, but doesn't seem to quite be able to for the time being, or maybe he's just intentionally trying to avoid it. I know with a caution we would have green-white checkered, so we'd have the opportunity to get the pass made for the lead if we were to get a caution. But no, I guess if he's just going to stay conservative and thinks that the rest of the field will stay clean the next few laps, then, well, respect to him. It's a polite move, and he'd still come away with a 3rd, which after the crazy beginning of the race he had, it would be an absolute... basically, I'm sure he wouldn't complain with it, is what I'm trying to say. So hopefully the audio is not too loud. I just realized that it was a little too loud. Unfortunately, the ticker speed I can't control. If there was a way to, I think I can probably manually do it somehow. But unfortunately, no, I can't slow it down at all. We can go to the little bit slower like block version. But there we go. If this works a little better, just let me know. But we now have 3 laps to go left in tonight's race. And again, Michael is pretty smooth sailing ride to the finish here, just provided he's able to make the last few laps work. And again, I don't think he's going to have issues when it comes to fuel. So you got to think he should be able to finish off the race pretty cleanly. Devin Crosby just made the pass on Josh Gallagher for position for the 5th spot. So the 2 LPM green cars with only a few laps to go. What better time than now to make some passes happen? And well, nice move there by Devin. He's going to head, I think, over top when he made the pass there on Josh Gallagher for the time being. So, well, Devin has had a, I even mentioned it with the Nurburgring race, and especially with Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, he's just had an unlucky couple of races for himself. And I feel bad because it's never incidents as a result of his own. He just keeps getting caught in stuff that isn't his fault. So good to see that even if it's not for like a battle for the lead position, that he's had at a number of ovals in our series. Well, at least he's going to, looks like by the looks of it, come away with the top 5 spot. So well, props to Devin Crosby for his work tonight. He's going to come away with a good points race, but finally Logan Pacza on the very final lap is going to make the pass on Michael Chrobok there. But as we come across the white flag here, the next flag will end the race. So the prospect of him getting a caution and coming back in the lead battle won't matter. Michael coming up to the start-finish line here. White flag here at the Michigan International Speedway. He's now gone by, so 1 more lap to go before Michael comes away with, well, again, I don't want to jinx him, but provisionally would get his 3rd win of the season, would tie Logan. So the only 2 drivers to win this year would both have 3 apiece. Of course, he won our last race at Nurburgring, and maybe that just gave him the confidence that once he got back to an oval, well, he would be in his element and he would be in the driver's seat. And well, I've called him the Oval Master all series, and well, he has shown in a pretty chaos-free race tonight. Why exactly that is his nickname is, well, this has been a flawless performance here by the 3-car Michael Chrobok, who come around corner 4 for the final time in the slipstream of Logan Pacza, who was able to get his lap back and will come away with a 3rd position. But Michael Chrobok will come away with the 3rd win of the season for the number 3 car. Checkered flag, Michael Chrobok takes the win in round 6 of the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2. What a performance there by Michael Chrobok as he finishes it off in style. We'll see if he comes away with a victory celebration of some sort in a moment. But his teammate LPM Blue, Rich Foligno, comes away with the 2nd spot in tonight's race. Great work for Rich. And LPM Blue, top 2. Can never complain with that whatsoever. So good work for Rich Foligno tonight. I get to do an interview with him, and he gets his first podium in a little while. Logan, has Logan done the race? He appears to be. He's now parked on the inside of the track. So I would have thought he would. No, he's disappeared. So I guess the positions are officially decided now. Andrew Bedrosian, it's a real shame. We're going to go to him in a moment, but Andrew had a great start to the race tonight. And so it's a real shame that he wasn't able to come away with a top 3 spot, but he just, I guess he had something in the pits that kept him away from that. And I don't know what it was. Remember, he served that really, really long pit stop. So I don't exactly know what happened to him there, but now we'll pull into the pits with Rich Foligno, and yeah, it just sucks because Michael's doing his burnouts and we're missing some of them, but he's going to do kind of that side tri-oval drift thing there. There's even a whole nice victory lane. I wonder if he's going to pull in there, but he did last season when he won here in the final round of last year. And actually important to note that, yeah, Michael is now 2 for 2 here at Michigan International Speedway. He almost got hit there by somebody. Who was that? Oh, that was Manuel Guerra going by trying to finish off his final lap. So, well, congratulations to, we can just pull down the ticker here, but congratulations to Michael Chrobok, your race winner tonight in the 6th round of the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2. And he finishes up his burnouts, and we'll now get ready for the interviews with your top 3 drivers. Those, of course, tonight being in order of how we will interview them. In 3rd place, Logan Pacza. In 2nd place, Rich Foligno. And your race winner, Michael Chrobok, for the 3rd time this season. Let me just quickly get some stuff set up. We just have to go to your final race results. I completely forgot. And then we're going to do a quick commercial, so I have time to set up some graphics, and then we will head off to your post-race interviews. So again, this is the graphic I was referring to earlier, ladies and gentlemen. I promise at some point I will get the privateer to actually say the proper team names. I just have to email somebody that works for the overlay company to exactly figure out how to do that. But, well, there are your final results for tonight's race. A dominant performance there by Michael Chrobok, and the lap down number should tell the whole story when it comes to that. An all LPM Blue top 2 of Michael Chrobok winning tonight's race. Again, the 3rd time this season, and I believe his 6th official race win overall all series. After that, Rich Foligno finishes in the 2nd position in the number 4 car. Again, I think his 2nd podium ever in our series, and his 1st of the season. So great work for him tonight. He kind of got back on the high horse after, I think, a few races with relative trouble. I think both Skip Barber races he was involved in a couple incidents. Again, that didn't seem to be his fault. He was just wrong place, wrong time a couple of times. So his bad luck is now overturned, and he comes away with the 2nd place spot tonight. After that, Logan Pacza, who gets once again another podium, but Man, when it comes to that championship battle, the fact that Michael is not only going to get 2 spots and winning has as a points bonus to the positions after it. I think it's 5 extra points to second place. And Michael might even get, I think, more bonus points than Logan will. So, well, in the championship, this will definitely close it up a little bit as we head off to round 7 next week at Spa-Francorchamps, which, as you guys remember last year, was a great race with a lot of competition. So if there's a battle that could maybe give Michael his championship lead back, that would be a track that I'd love to see it take place at. But yeah, Logan, I mean, we saw earlier in the race he had that difficult incident where he just kind of bounced into the outside wall in a hard right turn for some mysterious reason. Not exactly sure why, but we'll have to ask him that in his interview and see what exactly happened there. But he will come away with the third place position nonetheless. Great comeback for him tonight. After that, Andrew Bedrosian, just a real shame that he couldn't have had a little bit better finishing position. Again, by no fault of his own. He just unfortunately came away with a less than stellar spot because of the result of, I would guess, a pit penalty that he just came into the pits too fast on entry, and that would unfortunately put the kibosh on his hopes at a top 3 spot, let alone the race lead, which looked like a win was a possibility there earlier with Michael Chrobok. They were having a great battle, and Michael was breaking away, but Andrew was still in the conversation that whole time, and I was hoping, but unfortunately just wasn't able to make it happen tonight. And as we look forward to Spa-Francorchamps, I mean, he loves IndyCar road courses, so I'd imagine that, well, I will by no means not be talking to him on the podium in the next few weeks. I'd imagine that is more than likely, especially for the next week's 2 races. But well, I'd imagine one of these days he'll get his first race win because he's getting closer and closer every time we come out to one of these. But after that, Devin Crosby will end at the top 5. LPM Green, teammate of Josh Gallagher, finishes in the 6th spot. So both of them having successful races tonight, almost identical races there. Devin making the pass in the last couple of laps to take the 5th spot away from him and round out your top 5. So I believe this is his 3rd top 5 position of the season. Overall, he's had a pretty good position, or a pretty good season in the points, and he was actually battling Rich Foligno for position for, I think would have been the 4th spot. So Rich finishing 2nd will definitely close that battle up a little bit. But as I mentioned, Josh Gallagher comes away with the 6th spot, LPN Green teammate of Devin Crosby. As I mentioned, involved in a battle with him at the end of the race, but well, didn't seem to have a very eventful race throughout the whole thing. Again, no cautions, so not really an opportunity for there to be. After that, Justin Lilliken made a nice comeback there. Remember, he also had a few incidents that involved him getting into the wall and was able to save it. So good work for Justin tonight. After that, John Guerra coming away with an 8th place position. I believe ties his best ever finish this season in the 8th spot there. Of course, we had a bigger field. 8th was a little bit more in the middle, but well, I mean, hey, came away with a consistent performance tonight. I think with some more cautions, the strategy that both him, my father, and Manuel were going with would have worked a little better. But unfortunately for them, just no cautions to come out, and that meant that unfortunately they finished the race in 8th, 9th, and 10th respectively. So John Garrett for Diabolique Motorsports, Marshall Crocker Sr. will come away with the 9th position. Again, pretty uneventful race for him. I know I think he took an extra pit stop at some point throughout the race. Not sure if it was for tire strategy or what, but well, he will come away with the 9th place position. And again, he's a guy that I think could have a pretty good race next week at Spa-Francorchamps. After that, Manuel Guerra coming away with the final on-track position there, only actually 21 laps down. Not exactly sure what happened there. I'm wondering if it was either a time penalty or I guess just excessive number of pit stops or something. Just not exactly sure what, but he did finish the race on the track. And finally, Max Preston, who on lap 13 dropped out because of, I assume, a technical issue. It's the 2nd time this year. I really hope I'm going to talk to him and just ensure that he will be with us for the next few races of the season because, again, he's a very talented driver. And once we get to a race that suits his abilities, I think he can have a great, let alone a top 3 performance, but maybe even go for a win. So, well, that will round out tonight's race results. We're going to go to a quick commercial, as we often do, and then we got a few things to put together for the interviews, and then we'll be all set to go for your interviews for round 6 at Michigan International Speedway.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And we're back with round number 6 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series, Season 2. We now head to your post-race interviews here with your top 3 drivers in tonight's race at Michigan International Speedway. Your third-place driver in tonight's result was actually somebody that I've interviewed several times in the past, but I don't think I've ever actually interviewed him first. I can't remember too many times he has finished in the third position, but tonight's first interview will be with Logan Pacza, but he's actually not in the driver's room here to interview, so not sure what. Logan is not going to be in our interview tonight. He's got an early morning tomorrow for a race at Mosport. So, good luck to him with that. I know he's got definitely a big on track in real life racing life outside of iRacing. So, totally understandable. So, no interview tonight with Logan Pacza. Not sure if we are going to get Rich Foligno. I've actually never done an interview with Rich Foligno that I can remember. So, I guess there's a chance that he just won't be able to make it for the interview tonight, which would be too bad. But that would mean that we would have Michael Chrobok be the only interview of the night, which, I mean, he's always a great interview and he's always very descriptive. So nothing wrong with that. I just want to, I actually, full disclosure, I didn't have his graphic ready yet. I was going to do it during a break, but unfortunately I don't have time. So we'll get that made quickly for you guys, and then we'll be all good to go for your winner interview for tonight's race. Again, unfortunately, I don't think Rich will be able to make it for his interview, so we will pull Michael into the booth in just a moment and get ready to go to him. Hey, Michael, it's Marshall in the booth. You got me? Hey, Michael, it's Marshall. Can you hear me? I think I've had a classic Marshall tech screw up. For some reason, my audio channel can't hear you. Sorry, Michael, can you hear me now?
Yes, Marshall, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm happy to park it in Victory Lane again at Michigan International Speedway. This is becoming my new favorite track.
I can see why. I mean, you're now 2 for 2 in our series all time. I know last season you finished off the year with your 10th place, or your 10th race of the season performance there, which, I mean, the championship was already decided at that point, but you came out and you won the final race and did everything you could. And then tonight you came back, and I mean, I remember we had a semi-chaotic beginning to that race, a few cautions at the start that kind of threw off the strategy, but tonight we come out and we have the first cautionless race in series history, at least the first cautionless one that had cautions available to the drivers. So that was a crazy change in strategy that I wasn't anticipating. And just kind of talk about, do you think that the fact that we didn't have cautions tonight, did that throw off your or anybody at Live Pedal Motorsports' strategy tonight, or did that kind of play into the way you wanted to run your race?
No, I mean, we planned our strategy out assuming it would go caution free, and we didn't really think that would happen because we always have a wreck or two, or that's just racing, especially in stock cars. But man, for it to go clean, it just fell into our hands. The whole team playbook there. We had all the pit stops mapped out. We stuck to it perfectly, and then we executed a 1-2 finish for LPM Blue, and had pretty good runs for Andrew and Josh and Devin as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, an LPM Blue top 2, you can never complain with that. And in terms of the team standings, I know I didn't get a chance to throw them up in the broadcast yet, but actually maybe I'll throw them up in the background right now. But going into this race, I mean, you guys had, I think, a 15-point lead to Logan Motorsports behind. I know Logan Ferguson didn't make it out tonight, and Logan actually came away with the third for the first time, and I think in the entire series as a whole. So I know he had an early incident that put him out. But kind of talk a little bit about the battle between you and Andrew Bedrosian there, I think mid-race. And I think he got a pit penalty on pit entry that unfortunately put him out of contention for that top 2. But talk about kind of the battle with him there. What were you guys trying to coordinate something on conservation for maybe fuel or things like that? Or was that just a pure battle for position for the lead?
A little bit of both. We ran the practice race last night, and Andrew was really good at saving tires. So I was kind of benchmarking myself off of him. I thought he maybe had a slight advantage there. So I kind of didn't want to run harder than I needed to. And so the first fuel run, I wanted to get out front at the end of the stint, just for pit entry purposes and things like that. Pit when I wanted to, and he pitted a lap sooner than I did, and so he had the fresh tire advantage for a lap, and he had a really good pit entry. I kind of just took it easy, like I was out for a Sunday drive, and I paid the price for that. I lost about 3 seconds, and so I came out 3 seconds behind him, and then I tried to run conservative, but just hard enough to kind of chip away at that lead. And once we got to each other, the battle was on. I mean, we wanted to put on a good show for the broadcast and the fans watching, and hopefully we did that. But that was just a pure race between us, with the understanding of a lot of give and take and a lot of room. So we wouldn't do anything wild, that would force one of us into the wall or into a mistake or anything like that. But when we got a run, we'd swap positions and battle it out and see what happened. And I had a lot of fun doing that. We were doing slide jobs. We were doing crossover moves. It was great. I really enjoyed that battle, and it really sucks that he got a pit road speeding penalty, because I think you would have seen a show right to the very end. I think we were pretty even in terms of speed.
Absolutely. It feels like every time I see him out there, he just gets closer and closer. And yeah, tonight, unfortunately, I think this is his first penalty of this sort of the season. I know you had the unfortunate luck of being on his side of the eight ball at Charlotte earlier in the year, but you get revenge on that race and you come back and win your second overall race of the season, third overall. In terms of championship points, I got to think this would put you almost right on his tail. I think you'd be within probably 10 or 15 of him, of Logan, I should say, for the championship lead. So you've kind of turned the season around. Well, I shouldn't say turned the season around. You were always in second, but yeah, you and Andrew have had a great battle, and now you and Logan as well. So going forward, the next few races, we have Spa-Francorchamps next week for round 7, and then we have Indy GP on the 8th on the road course for that. So two tracks that we've done. Well, we've done one before. We haven't done the other, and both in the IndyCar road course series. So I know Andrew seems to have have quite the ability there. That's one that he sounds pretty confident about whenever I talk to him. And Logan has shown plenty of ability there in the past, or at least the race we did there last season at Indy or at Daytona road course. So how are you feeling in terms of your championship position going forward with two back-to-back Indy road course races?
Yeah, you're exactly right on the points there. I put the new ones up on Dan Lisa if you want to show those for the broadcast. We're down to -12 now, so we've cut it down from, I think, 24 or 28 back going into the race. So me and Logan are tied on 3 poles, 3 wins, 5 top 5s, and 6 top 10s. We're having a pretty identical season right now. Looking forward to the next few races. I mean, they're not tracks that I have much experience at. Spa, a little bit more than Indy GP. I've never run the GP course, but LPM does have a team over in the Lionheart Racing Series that they just ran that in their Premier Division as well as their Retro Throwback Division. So I've leaned on them for some tips and some advice. I got some video to study from our Lionheart friends, just to hopefully get up to speed there pretty quick for the next few weeks. But just looking to have solid runs and just see what happens. I mean, if you asked me a week ago how I do at Nurburgring, I would have never told you I would have won that race. So we'll just see what happens going forward. Never giving up and pushing as hard as we can and battling it with Logan and Andy and Rich and all the guys here. It's such a great group that we have racing with us, and it's just a pleasure to take to the track every week with them and have such great battles. Looking forward to the next few races.
Awesome, and as am I. And well, as we do at the end of every winner's interview specifically, you got a chance for your sponsors and everything. And I mean, tonight you did them proud. It was a pretty cut and dry race overall. From lap 1 to 100, you seemed in control of the whole thing. So I got to give you congrats there. But I'll let you give your sponsors a shout out, as well as anybody at home you want to give a shout out to.
Yeah, we do have Andy in the booth. I just brought him down here, so he's ready to go if you want to interview him after. But got to thank Andy for being such a great teammate, racing me so hard and so clean for the whole race, and all the guys at LPM. Congrats to Rich Felino on finishing a solid P2, Devin Crosby and Josh Gallagher as well. And I got to give a shout out to Scott McKenzie. Scott McKenzie is the owner of Clipping That Apex, one of our sponsors, and it's his birthday today. So happy, I think it's his 35th birthday to our sponsor there, Scott McKenzie. I hope you enjoyed the show and having the Clipping That Apex car in victory lane at the end like I promised. And I got to thank everybody else on board, the Loud Pedal Motorsports team, HPP Simulation, of course, Clipping That Apex, Thumbs Up Cancer Down, Ready to Frag, Fleximation Systems, Host Venom, Sim Racing Apps, CJ Automotive, AMSO by Adam Blattle, Splash and Go Graphics, and Spotlights, the visual spotter system, which is perfect when you're running side by side at 200 miles an hour going into turn 1 at Michigan.
Which you most certainly were several times today, and paid off for you there. You got the win over Andrew, and I'll interview him in just a moment. But, well, again, congratulations, Michael. You came away with your 3rd win of the season. I do have the standings up, so hopefully you get the chance to throw those up in just a moment. But, yeah, you come away with the 3rd win of the season. I think I think I came away with 6 as my number, your 6th official series win overall. So you're climbing up there in second all time in series wins, and you're getting closer and closer to Logan every race. So, well, I mean, you're on a bit of a streak here. We'll see how well you do next week at Spa-Francorchamps. But for tonight, you are tonight's race winner at Michigan. So congrats, Michael. I guess have a great rest of your night. Look forward to seeing you next week. And I'd imagine, even if we're going to road courses, which, I mean, you're the Oval Master, but I'd imagine we'll be talking to you in an interview very shortly.
Well, thanks for putting on this league, and I just got to pass along an idea that Josh had, is giving everybody bonus point for running a caution-free race tonight. So just throwing that out there. It was great to see, great turnout for everybody that came out, and just a fantastic race to be part of.
Awesome. And hey, I absolutely agree. That was super impressive by the entire field. I'll have to give everybody some individual props for that after the race.
All right, buddy, take it easy. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. And with that, we finish up your race winner interview and your only actually official podium interview for tonight. It looks like we won't get the chance to interview Rich Felino as I would have liked to, but we do have in the booth, waiting in the waiting room, Andrew Bedrosian, who we get ready to interview now. I mean, he didn't finish on the podium, but I mean, dang, if there was anybody that came close tonight, it was him. I mean, you talk about a battle with Michael that went on about 40 laps. I mean, they were just kind of the entertainment for the entire middle section of this cautionless race. So, well, I think only fitting that we give him an interview here, and because he was a large part of the race, and even if he unfortunately had I think a pit road speeding penalty that unfortunately put the end to his hopes at a win tonight. Well, it doesn't mean that he wouldn't be a fun interview. So we'll pull him into the booth here in just a moment. Hey, Andrew.
Hey.
Oh, well, first of all, congratulations. I mean, even if it wasn't the podium position I'm sure you would have liked tonight, it's a pleasure to talk to you because you came away with a fourth, and man, you had a stellar night tonight. I mean, you talk about the beginning of the race, which was full of comebacks for everybody in the field trying to make it up at room after that very chaotic beginning of the race, and we went cautionless, so the fact that you were able to get to the front early paid off well. And then once you got with Michael, the two of you just took off from the rest of the field, and just kind of talk about that battle running with Michael. Were you two kind of talking to each other in the LPM chat in the background and kind of working out your plan there, or was that entirely like you going for position there and fighting for every second you could?
Basically, my spotter and slash crew chief made a great call for the undercut. We pitted a lap early, gained 2 seconds out of it. I was mostly on the channel with my spotter, just listening and giving suggestions to the LPM team. But yeah, the battle mostly was just more like playful, and just trying to put on a show for all the viewers that come out to watch us. So I mean, I definitely had a great car. Felt like I had a great car last night and tonight. Uh, I definitely think I can pull off a win at Pocono also. Just overall great night.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to hear you're feeling confident for Pocono because the Tricky Triangle is one of the most difficult tracks in the entire calendar, and that's late in the year, right before we go to our playoffs, where it's important to have as many points as you can. But speaking of tonight, I know you were in the battle, obviously, for the lead for the entire portion of that middle part of the race, but for you had that long pit stop towards the end of the race that kind of put you out of contention for a podium spot. What was the cause of that?
Yeah, so we just got a bit too aggressive to try to keep up with Michael. I think he was about 1.4 seconds ahead, or it was just exchanging numbers and who could just hit their marks. And he had a draft. Finally, I got to the lapped car, and I had the draft a little bit, but just he had about a lap or two better tires than I did because I pulled the undercut. We thought that he burnt his tires up a little bit more than I did, trying to push to catch me over that 2 second lead. But basically, it just came down to just a pit, too fast a pit road. I just tried to get too aggressive on the pit entry, and just didn't work out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, but I mean, going for every second is kind of the racer's mentality, isn't it? I mean, you know, if you're going for every
Yeah.
second in a battle with a guy as good as Michael, I mean, I don't blame you at all for making a little slip up like that. Everybody does, and well, overall, this was actually your first non-podium of the season, but it certainly didn't feel like it. I think this is probably, in terms of full race pace, probably the best race I've seen you have all year. So you're getting better and better and closer to be in the final interview of the night for the first place position. But we head next week to both Spa and Indy GP in the Dallara IndyCar series for the road courses. So we've only done one IndyCar road course this season. Of course, you weren't there for our first one last year because you weren't in the series yet. But based on your confidence after Watkins Glen, how comfortable are you feeling with the IndyCar road courses, and how well do you think you're going to do at our next two races?
I definitely feel very confident going ahead in this schedule. Maybe I may not be the fastest at the Indy GP, but at Spa, I mean I've been practicing putting laps in and everything else in order to try to beat Paxa and keep up the pace with Michael and try to start over with the new podium streak. Uh but looking forward to Mid Ohio and all the other road courses, I definitely think I've improved.
Yeah, most certainly. You just seem to be getting better and better after every single race. So I have the utmost confidence that in just a few races you'll get that first win, and then it might turn into a long time podium streak, might turn into a winning streak. I wouldn't be too surprised at all. But well, as we do at the end of every interview, do you want to give any shout outs to anybody, or maybe give a message to somebody at home?
Yeah, I just want to thank Stamos and Stamos Realtors for sponsoring me and all my family for watching. It was a great race and a lot of fun.
Yeah, most certainly was, and even if it wasn't as chaotic as some of our other ones this series, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do for the recap for next race because it was pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, we
Cut,
definitely had a couple of close calls with Manuel.
oh
So
yeah, yeah, I saw a
yeah,
few of those.
came pretty close. That was just crazy.
Yeah, but overall, you guys were able to keep it clean, which I pride all of you guys on. Michael actually brought it up that we should just give a bonus point to everybody for keeping a entirely clean race, and I would agree with that. So impressive performance by everybody, and great performance by you. And you know, again, even if it's not going to be a podium spot, I'm sure you won't complain with how great of a race you had tonight. So, well,
Yeah.
well, I mean, congrats, Andrew. Again, have a great rest of your night. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week and seeing how well you do at our two Indy road courses, and yeah, just basically have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thank you.
And with that, we finish up your final interview of the night. Again, unfortunately, we only have two tonight, but as we mentioned earlier, I mean, Logan is going to bed early for something tomorrow, and then I think, yeah, I wasn't able to get a hold of Rich, so unfortunately, it'll just be the two interviews tonight. But that means that we actually do finish even earlier than I would have thought, which we had a very quick race tonight, or a very quick broadcast overall. That was what we're not even 2 hours in, so. Well, for those of you that wanted to get to bed early again for work tomorrow, well, sorry to remind you, of course, for those of you that have to work, but well, this is the perfect opportunity. So we're finished nice and early, and you guys can head off and do whatever you want with the rest of your night, and then make sure again to join us back on Friday for round 7 at Spa-Francorchamps. Those of you that remember last season's race at Spa, that was one of the most stellar races we had in season 1, and remember the great battles throughout the field with Brian Ellis and Devin Crosby. Of course, Brian Ellis no longer in the series, but it'd be a pleasure if we were able to get him back. But we do that in the IndyCar series, which I think will be super difficult and super fun. And that one is kind of like the IndyCar equivalent of Nurburgring last week, just nowhere near as long. Still a pretty long track, but overall, Spa, an iconic track. The IndyCar, a great road course car. I have no doubt that it'll be a great race there for round 7. So I'd be absolutely pleasured if you guys were able to make it out for that one again. We were hopefully I'm looking for an even better driver lineup for every single race. So as we head to the end of the season, I think if I can get a few more guys that are at least part-time to show up for that race, we should have a pretty good driver lineup, which would be very nice if we were able to make that happen and we were able to have like 15 or 16 guys there for the next race. So that is indeed the case. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you back out there for round 7. Of course, it was a nice broadcast tonight. I think we were able to get all the fact that we were able to get all the pre-race stuff done as opposed to Nurburgring was very nice tonight. So I'm trying to make it more and more on the minute when we start the broadcast. I know sometimes it's a few minutes late at the start, but I'm trying to get that fixed and make it right on the minute when I say it will be. And I mean, tonight we didn't have any technical problems. Of course, the ticker was running a little bit fast, but I think it's a nice new addition to the broadcast, especially the NASCAR ones. So you guys all seem to like the little scoring thing up top. So we'll keep it for the rest of the series, and maybe I can make little touch-ups and make it look even better. But overall, I think it was a fun time tonight. Hopefully all of you guys thought so too. And again, caution-free race. It's a first in the Karts Computers Racing Series, an impressive one at that. So well, to end the broadcast tonight, we're just going to go over your final results one more time very quickly. Michael Chrobok, Rich Foligno, the top 2 LPM Blue cars in the first and second positions. Again, I showed you the team standings there during Michael's interview, but those were going into the race. And well, with both of them finishing with the top 2 spot, no doubt is that gap to the teams behind going to extend a little bit. But after that, Logan Motorsports second in the team standings, and their kind of representative number 1 driver is Logan Pacza at the moment as he comes away with a 3rd place position. Now tied with Michael for most race wins this season, each with 3, the only 2 drivers to win a race thus far this year. After that, Andrew Bedrosian, who had an incredible race, as I mentioned, we interviewed him a moment ago, but again, just got a little bit too overzealous coming into the pits and came away with a penalty that unfortunately cost him a podium spot. But After that, Devin Crosby came away with the 5th position, making a pass late in the race on Josh Gallagher, a teammate at LPM Green. The two of them finishing in 5th and 6th respectively, matching their numbers fittingly enough. But overall, both guys that are great at ovals, and I think late in the season, as we run a few more NASCAR ovals where they particularly thrive in their experience, I think they could have some great races this year. And I think Devin, again, in particular, is a guy that I can see winning a race very, very soon. But after that, Justin Luke, a guy that I also think will win a race very, very soon, but more likely in the road course side of things, is he's a guy that I think will succeed pretty well in the next 2 races at both Spa and the Indy road course. So looking forward to that. So he comes away with the 7th position tonight, once again matching his number. Actually, well, if we had Michael and Logan flip, we would have had almost the entire field. But besides that, coming away with the 8th spot tonight is John Guerra, I believe tying a personal record. So, I mean, hey, John had a good race tonight. I mean, he stayed clean, letting lap traffic by. I know at the beginning he was just trying to stay out of harm's way, and he was running good lap time. So if we had had a few more cautions, I think he could have had a great race ahead of him. But unfortunately, no cautions meant that he came away with the 8th spot, which again, I mean, I wouldn't complain with how talented this field is. After that, Marshall Crocker Sr., my father, coming away with the 9th spot. I think it would probably be a drop race for him. So in the drop standings positions, he should still be doing very well for himself in the point standings this year. And well, as we go again into Spa-Francorchamps race, I think he'll do very well. Well, I like his chances to keep his top 6 spot in the championship, which of course, the top 6 drivers make it into our final 3-race playoff that determines their championship winner this season. So keep an eye out for that. The top 6 in the personal driver standings is very, very important. So he will come away with the 9th position tonight. And Manuel Guerra will round out the drivers that were finishing on track tonight. Again, 21 laps down. He was having something going on over there, that he had quite a few pit stops there in the middle of the race. So not exactly sure what happened there. I mean, none of them caused a caution, so not exactly sure what was the case there. But Manuel Guerra will come away with the 10th spot and the second of the 2 Diabolic Motorsports drivers in this race. And rounding out the field, the JM Motorsports driver of Max Preston again dropped out in lap 13 due to, I would presume, technical issues, which hopefully are fixed before our next 2 Indy road course races, because he was great at Watkins in the Indy road course series, and I'd imagine he'll do just as well in the next 2 races of this season. And with that, we will finish up tonight's broadcast. Again, thank you everybody for coming out to watch, and it's been a pleasure to have all you guys out with us. And again, I mean, we had a little bit more, you could say, personal broadcast on Friday there with the Nurburgring race, but I think tonight gave you some great racing action, and I look forward to an even better one there on Friday at Spa-Francorchamps. So thank you again, everybody, for watching, and thank you for those of you that stick around for the interviews. I know it means a lot to the people in them to still have people showing up and watching when they go on. So overall, it's been a pleasure to have all of you guys here. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great rest of your weekend. And, well, on behalf of the entire Karts and Computers Racing series and the Season 2 specifically, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and have a great rest of your week. And I will see you all Friday night.